What's up, what's up, what's up? Chris Record here, and I want to go through a live stream with you guys, and today's going to be a little bit different. I'm literally just going to talk to you off the cuff, unscripted, unrehearsed, and I'm going to use a lot of whiteboard, and I'm going to take you on a journey through a lot of failures that I've had, some past businesses, past business partnerships that didn't work out, but I'm going to make sure it's also full of training. So not only am I going to share the drama, some of the juicy stuff. In fact, I don't even know if this is going to be a recording. Normally I'd say if you're watching this on the recording, but you know what? I'm not even sure. We're just going to go unrehearsed, see how it goes, and I'll consider it from there. So if you guys are watching, first of all, congratulations. Thanks for taking the time with me today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the journey that I went on to be able to generate tens of millions of dollars in online sales. And it's not very pretty. It's not a pretty journey at all. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a project that you can do to begin to turn your life around, because that's really what my life has been. And so what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to basically show you guys, first we're going to talk about a big word here that a lot of people don't talk about. Failure versus success. Okay, this is going to be a big part of today's topic, is that the thing that people want to talk about is success. We always want to focus on the good, especially somebody who is successful, because they likely have learned how to be able to recondition their mind, reprogram their mind to be able to see the glass half full instead of the glass half empty, right? So they have success principles. They are success minded. They've gone through a big personal development journey. So a lot of times they don't even see failure when it's staring them in the eyes directly, right? They've learned to just overcome. But the reality is that 99.9% of the planet sees this right in front of their face. All you see is failure, failure, failure. And it's hard to see this. So 99.9% of people want this. And what's interesting is the successful people, they still have the same failure, but they just don't see it as much. So I'm going to take you on this journey, and we're going to do it through a timeline. I've actually got some notes down here that I'm going to be going through, so you might see me looking down at the pad a bunch. I'm going to walk you through an actual journey that I've been on, and I've never done this before. So listen, right now in the comments, let me know if literally you appreciate the authenticity. Let me know if you appreciate the real, uncut. I mean, I'm going to talk about businesses, business partnerships that went bad. I'm going to get kind of into some nitty gritty. And I've just decided that in order for me to level up, in order for me to get to the next level, I have to let go of some things in the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on this timeline here and show you. It's probably going to go like this. I'm just going to assume this is going to be the timeline. We'll see how it goes, right? I might use more pages. So let's start here. Of course, everybody's timeline could start as a kid or whatever, but I'm going to kind of start the entrepreneur timeline. And before I go any further, let me tell you that this is an exercise that you should do yourself, okay? So watch me do this with you, and then after this, I challenge you to go through your own sort of timeline therapy. Go through a timeline, create a timeline. I'll show you. You can either just make it like a list. This is literally just like a numbered list, or what you can do is you can draw it out as an actual line, get a notepad, get a pen and paper, and do this yourself afterwards, because it's a powerful, powerful thing. So where I want to start my journey is right around 1994, okay? So right around 1994, what I was doing in 94 was I was a high school kid, right? But what I want to do is I want to tell you this right here. First of all, I was a dropout of high school in the ninth grade, okay? Literally a ninth grade dropout. So that was roughly, and by the way, my years might be a little bit off. It's not like I actually went back in the calendar and looked at the years. So roughly right around 1994, okay, I dropped out of high school in the ninth grade. Technically, on a technicality, I may have graduated ninth grade. I know that there was I went to this super alternative school where all they did was they graduated you if you showed up. And one day we just showed up to school and they gave us a book, literally a used book off of a book cart, and said, here you go, congratulations, you're in 10th grade now. And it was just like a little, like a novel or something like that. I don't even know what it was, just off of a book thing. I think they did that to get us in the habit of actually thinking that we were succeeding and winning. But I dropped out in 1994. this was the reason I want to start here is that this was a big defining moment for me because when I was right around 16 years old, I was born in 1978, July 1978. So a lot of you don't realize my age because, I always wear a hat because of the orange brand, and usually I'll dress like a little bit like a youthful look. So my age is actually 39 years old. I was born July 20th, 1978. So this July 20th, I'm turning 40 years old, if you can believe it or not. So, and I don't mind. You know what? I feel good. I actually feel like I'm in my prime right now. So I really am enjoying it. But the reason this is important is because when I was 16 years old, I actually got locked up. I got locked up for doing graffiti on the judge's chambers. So I was going to see the judge over something else. I did graffiti on the judge's chambers, right on the glass, scribed my name in the glass. And then I also did graffiti on the sheriff's station. And then also kind of got into like a little fight with the cops. So basically, you can't fight with cops, you can't do graffiti on sheriff stations, and you can't do graffiti on judges' chambers. This is a lesson that you should learn. All right, so anyways, I ended up getting locked up when I was 16 and dropped out of school as a result. When I was 18, I got out, and it was a fundamental turning point for me in my career. I was this hoodlum, this youth, this messed up teen, and then all of a sudden, I got this like counselor, this like mentor, okay? And he told me, he says, listen, when you go hang out with all your old friends again, they're gonna try to get you to drink, to smoke weed, to party, to do crimes. They're gonna go get you to do all this stuff. And what I want you to do is when they do this, turn it down for a little while. Maybe later you can go back to it. I'm not saying your whole life. Turn it down for like 6 months or a year. Just get away from it. And it was smart because had he told me I had to give up all my friends and everything for life, I wouldn't have done it. But he made it seem really simple. Just for a few months, move to the other side of town and don't go to those same places. So that's what I did. I moved around a little bit and I went through a phase of having like some odd jobs. So I'll just kind of timeline a little bit. I went through a phase of having some odd jobs. The odd jobs included, I worked in Santa Cruz, California, I worked at a movie theater. I did concessions and I cleaned the theater. Now, I'm just going to go ahead to start this process of getting authentic and getting real. I'll start exposing myself first, okay? When I worked at the movie theater, we had developed this little hustle. Keep in mind, I'm a bad kid who's transitioning good. I had broken bad and I'm trying to be good. So we had developed this little hustle where when we would work concessions, there was certain things that they couldn't really track. Like the popcorn, they couldn't really track popcorn and stuff like that. So we figured out which items they couldn't track. And then what would happen is when somebody would pay for them, we would only ring them up. We would turn the little ringer around so they couldn't see their total. We would ring them up, let's say it was $10, but we would only charge them like $5. So yes, I was a little bit of a criminal even in my first job. I didn't make much money. It was like an extra 20 or 30 bucks, but I hadn't lost that hustle. It was like bad. It was like I was still a little bit bad and getting good, right? So we were doing like little cinema, little transactional, profit sharing with the cinema there. And you know what? I don't mind admitting that. And yes, it does make me a bad person. I'm not in any way justifying that anybody should go do something like that. But I'm just going to save you from some of my past stories. This was significantly better than where I was. This was just an amazing improvement. I had odd jobs. I worked at a coffee shop. I remember working at a coffee shop in East Side, Santa Cruz, and the shop was owned by like a kind of a prominent lesbian woman, and all the other women there were like pretty cute. So imagine this lesbian owner of this coffee shop, and these women, young girls working there were pretty cute. And then there was me, this misfit guy who didn't fit in at all. And so right from the beginning, she didn't really like me. She always liked the girls. The girls would like cry to her about how hard their day was and how I wasn't helping them enough and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is my first experience in a job that was full of drama. Every single day I would show up, I'd be like, hi, like I want to learn how to make coffee. I want to learn how to do stuff. And there would be a line of 20 people, and the girl that was working there would have a breakdown and start crying and say she couldn't handle it. And I just got shoved in front of the coffee machine without even knowing how to make a mocha or anything like that. I was just like, literally, can I just make you a coffee? I had no idea what I was doing, no help, no anything. Let's just say I was overwhelmed and I quit. I walked out. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. These little jobs lasted like a week, okay? This is just part of my life, these little odd jobs. Well, eventually, I landed a job at a restaurant, okay? And this was called the Shadowbrook, and this is a big one for me, Shadowbrook Restaurant, okay? And the reason this is a big one for me, and let me kind of get the year if I can. The year for the Shadowbrook Restaurant is I'm like this when I was 16. So now I'm probably 19 or something like that. It's probably 97, somewhere around 97. Shadowbrook Restaurant. So what I did was I moved in with a couple of friends, some new friends. They were doing pretty good. Yes, they drank. Yes, they smoked weed. Even some of them sold weed. But they were good kids compared to the others that I were hanging out with, people that, had guns and people that were committing violent crimes and stuff like that. So I transitioned to a new group that was a little bit better. And every single day, our life revolved around this restaurant. It was right across the street from our house. And you had to start at the bottom and work your way up. So they really had no jobs. So in the beginning, they started me off like helping to wash dishes and then being a restaurant-wide busboy. It was kind of like there's no position for you yet, so you have to do everything, right? So I would just go around and ask anybody if they needed help. After about a month of doing that, I no longer had to wash dishes, which was good because I didn't speak Spanish and the rest of the dishwashers there didn't speak English. So it was an odd connection we had, but it was still fun. I didn't mind it at all. And then I worked my way up to busboy. And then as a busboy, I was just hustling. I wanted to prove myself there. And then from busboy, I worked my way up to what's called a food runner because it was a fancy restaurant. So you would basically take these big trays with like as many as like 8 or 12 entrees on them, and you would run them out to the table, set them down on a rack, and you would deliver the food. And the waiter didn't deliver the food. So you were the food runner, the food server in essence. And this taught me like how to be able to dress up nice and wear a tie. And it taught me how to be professional and sit down. And this was big for me because remember, I was a young hoodlum thug who was locked up from 16 to 18, 2 years, right? So because I was locked up for 2 years, I was just gaining some new skills. I didn't have any clothes. I had to go to like the thrift center to get a shirt and a tie and stuff like that. So literally, the Shadowbrook Restaurant is what groomed me into being more professional. I remember the time that I knew I kind of was professional, my grandparents came to visit me and I got a picture with them, and here I am, clean shaven, a tie, a shirt, and I was all happy, and like it was just cool. Like I was getting better. And my family was recognizing it. My family was proud of me there. So I'm going to come back to this in a second because something else happened at Shadowbrook Restaurant that would transition my whole timeline, change my career path forever. But before that, what happened was I finally saved up enough money to go buy a car. And I think I had around $3,000. So I went to go buy a car. We went to the dealership. I don't remember exactly. I think my mom was there with me, my brother, maybe my sister was there. And I found this car that I wanted. It was a Mazda 626 hatchback. That's all I remember. It was a silver Mazda 626 hatchback. And I went and started negotiating this car, but I only had a few $1,000s and I wasn't going to finance it and I didn't have credit. And by the way, when I was 18 years old, getting these odd jobs, this is a very important thing right here. I'm going to put CC, credit card debt. When I was 18 years old or 19 years old, I started getting credit card offers. I immediately applied for them all, got these credit cards, and I immediately maxed them all out. I spent like food and went to the mall, whatever you do with credit cards. I maxed them all out, and I never made payments on them. Okay, so at 18 years old, I got like 5 credit cards, like $300 limit, $500 limit, $1,000 limit. I just thought it was free money. And I had no money management skills, obviously. I was just getting out of being locked up. So I maxed those out, nothing to show for it, and I've had debt. Now here's something interesting. To go full circle, today, my credit score is now 800. My Experian, whatever it is, 800 credit score. So go back to when I was 18 years old, my credit went into the 500s, and get this, I've never had good credit from age 18 to age 39. 39 years old is the first year of my adult life that I've ever had good credit. This is something that shocks a lot of people for my entire life. And here's why, just to give you a history of this stuff, a quick advance on the timeline, is that I had credit card debt here, so my credit score got bad, and so I couldn't use credit. And then I ended up, to forecast here, I ended up having challenges with taxes, and I didn't pay my taxes, and then I got tax liens. And then I had tax liens and bad credit, so I just learned to deal without credit. And then eventually, so many decades passed by. What has it been, like 20 years? 20 years has passed by. Eventually, things just fell off my credit. And one day, next thing you know, my credit score was just magically fixed, right? And then I became an authorized user on a couple other people's cards, and boom, 800 credit score. But it took me 20 years. So just imagine this journey here, no credit. I think that that's important too. So back to the car story. So I'm getting ready to buy this car, but the car is like $5,000. It's like, and I'm only got a few grand. So what I do is I go back and forth, negotiating. And because I was a little hustler, right? And I negotiated them down to $2,850. And I bought the car for $2,850. And when I was like basically done with the deal, the owner came out and wanted to shake my hand. And he said, I want to meet the guy who just negotiated us into a loss on this car. Now, I don't know if they actually lost money or not, but he like wanted to meet me, right? So he came out and he said, young man, I've got a proposition. You're really good at negotiating. I'd rather have you on our side negotiating with the customers than on that side. Do you want to come work for us? So what I did while working at the Shadowbrook restaurant was I also had a second job right here doing car sales. Okay, now I've got two jobs. During the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I'm selling cars on this little used car dealership called Auto Rose in Santa Cruz, California. And I'm working at the Shadowbrook restaurant, which is in Capitola, California. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's a beautiful restaurant right by the beach. Still to this day, amazing. You catch a little tram down. So I'm doing both of these. This is the period of my life where I really started to feel the hustle, the grind. Every single night, like 5 nights a week, I'm working at the Shadowbrook restaurant as a busboy, not even a waiter, as a busboy. And then I'm selling cars on the weekend. But here's the thing. At the Shadowbrook, when you calculated my base check, which was minimum wage, and then my tips, as a busboy, I was making maybe like a couple $1,000s a month. So I'm making around $2,000 a month here, right? Maybe $24,000 a year. And then car sales, I'm making nothing. It's commission-based. I don't even think I had a base pay. So if I did, I can't remember. Making no money. And here's what happened. About a month went by and I'm making no money. But here's where I met my second mentor. So remember, my first mentor got me out of the crime, drug, graffiti life and got me into steering away from that and shifted my direction, right? Getting into moving across town. My second mentor was, I want to say his name's John. It's been so long. Maybe it'll come to me. I don't think it's John. I can't remember the guy's name. But listen, here's how it worked. I'm in Santa Cruz, California. Over the hill in Silicon Valley is a city called San Jose, California. And there was this row of dealerships in San Jose, California that were huge. They were massive. I'm working at a small dealership with like 30 cars. They're working at these big dealerships with hundreds. So he worked at a dealership called Stevens Creek Toyota. Okay, I wish I could remember his name and make this even cooler. I just can't remember it. So this older guy must have been in his 30s or something. I'm like what? Like 19 years old? Must have been in his 30s. George. His name was George, I think. I don't know. We'll have to come back to this. So this guy, George, he comes in and to visit his friend Ron, who owned the place, Auto Rose. I think the guy's name was Ron Rose that owned it. So he comes in to visit his friend, and I watched this guy, and I don't know if you've ever done this. Have you ever looked at somebody and seen that they literally float on the air? Like they just have this magical aura about them? That's what this guy did, right? This guy, George, had this magical aura. When he walked through the dealership, he was confident, he had composure, he just looks like a natural, and everything about him was smooth, right? This guy, he didn't look like a sleazy, like everybody else was like a sleazy car salesman. Leather jacket, smoking cigarettes, they see somebody come, they flick the cigarette, drink their coffee, and they go walk out, hey, da-da-da-da-da. It was all slick, and then here's this guy, George, just smooth and polished, right? And I admired him, okay? And this was when I got guts. And I walked up to him and I said, George, can you please teach me how to sell cars? Because George was the number one salesperson at Stevens Creek Toyota, which was the number one dealership for like San Jose. The number one salesman at the number one dealership, right? So I said, please. And I don't know what it was about him and me. I think he saw a little potential in me. So he decided to take that full day almost and mentor me. He was just in town, so he mentored me. He took the time to walk me around the dealership, and he told me, he says, all right, customers are gonna come in, and they're gonna want this red Honda Civic, right? It's parked out front, it's beautiful, they see it driving by, they're gonna want that red Honda Civic. But here's the thing, you don't really make any money on that car, right? That car is the show car, blah, blah, blah. When people walk in, here's this whole dealership of other cars, and the problem is, he goes, do you ever have people walk up and say they're just looking? Or say, oh no, I'm not buying today? I'm like, yeah, every single one. So he told me, he said, no, that's because they come see this car, but they can't afford the car. That's like a brand new, they don't want it. But you know what? They can afford any of these. You've got to learn how to redirect them in here. And then he showed me, you take them on the walk around, and then over here he says, you get in this one, and then you open the door, you tell them to sit in, and then you walk around, you come to the other side, you give them a tour, and you say, you know what, we're in the car. Why don't we just pull it out, take a quick little spin just around the block. And you go around the block, and you drive by this place, and there's a mirror, and a big window, basically, that's reflection. You drive by, and you stop. You say, okay, stop right here. You say, look at the reflection. This car's pretty good, right? You like this car. It feels good, everything. Drive it back around. You want to take it on the freeway? Now they're already in the car. They're going to take it on the freeway. You're cruising around. They're really feeling it. Show them the stereo works, the vents, and you get them all going. You get them back to the dealership, and then you say, let me ask you a question. If this car, if we can get this to you for the right down payment and the right amount per month, would you be interested in this car? If only if it made sense, if it was the right payments. Say, look, let's at least go inside and find out what they'd be willing to do. So you go inside, and then there's be Foursquare, we draw it, and we figure out how much money down could you afford? No matter what they say, you just say, okay, this and that. And then how much total, blah, 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 blah. And all it really came down to is how much down and how much per month. And then I would go back and forth, and this guy's teaching me this all in one day. Imagine a mentor, a sales mentor, taking a newbie who's never sold a car before, and in one day teaching me all the ropes, and I was a sponge. And here I am 20 years later still remembering this. That's how much of a sponge. And here's what happened. He left. And no, I didn't magically sell any cars that weekend. I didn't even sell any cars the next weekend. But about 2 weeks later, I sold my first car. Okay? And whoops, it's not working. Okay. About 2 weeks later, I sold my first car. But you know what happened immediately after? The same day, second customer came in. It's like luck. I don't know what happened. This like Indian, where was he from? I can't remember where this guy was from. Indian guy came in, big beard all the way down here, kind of scrubby clothes. And basically the other sales reps didn't even go talk to him because he just looked kind of like pretty scrubby and didn't look like he belonged. And I figured, hey, a lead's a lead. So I walked up and talked to this guy, and he says, how much for this dump truck? And we had a dump truck on the lot. And I'm like, I'll find out for you. Are you looking to, blah, blah, blah. Are you looking to finance something? He's like, no, all cash. And this guy came in and bought a dump truck and a car, all cash, bought it all that day. So literally I ended up selling like 3 cars like this. And because he got cash, I didn't make as much commissions on him because he was a shrewd negotiator. But that day, in one single day, in one afternoon on a Saturday, I made more money in commissions than the whole month at the Shadowbrook restaurant. Now keep in mind, that's the power of a mentor. It shortened this timeline. Literally, in one day on a Saturday afternoon, I was just sitting there, kicking it, and then somebody walked on the lot, and then another person walked on the lot, boom. This job at the Shadowbrook restaurant, I forgot the K there, Shadowbrook restaurant, that I was hustling for like 8 hours straight, just grinding, running, sweating the whole entire time, drinking Red Bulls in between shifts, tired at the end of the night, just wanted to fall asleep. Over here was chill, relaxed. That's where I had this paradigm shift, that it's not how hard you work, it's how smart you work, right? Over here, I was working 10 times harder, but over here, in one day, I made the same amount of money. So I quit that job right there. I quit the Shadowbrook restaurant and did car sales. Now, but before I quit, there was this guy named Franz, okay? Franz was a waiter at the Shadowbrook restaurant. Franz might even be following me. I don't know if he still follows along what we do these days. This guy named Franz, 20 years ago, he got a bunch of us bus boys all around the circle, and he was a waiter. He was a weekend waiter. It was like the prime Friday night, Saturday night shifts, the weekend waiter. And Franz says, hey guys, listen up. I know a millionaire. And all of us were like, biting our nails, like, you know a millionaire? This is crazy. Because remember, we're making like $2,000 a month. I know a millionaire. And we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And he's like, who wants to go meet him? We're like, everybody's like, yeah, I want to meet a millionaire. That's the most amazing thing ever. We didn't know, right? We had no idea. We were just young, broke kids trying to pay rent. We were in a 2-bedroom house with like 4 guys there, right? Sleeping on couches, making $2,000 a month. So when he was willing to introduce us to a millionaire, I rose my hand up and I was like, hey, anything. He said, all right, let's jump in a car and let's drive to San Francisco. Okay, which was like an hour and a half away. So we all, that night or whatever, we all got in a car, we went to San Francisco, and we went into this hotel room, and I don't know if anybody's ever done this, but we went inside this hotel room, and this guy named Nathan Ricks, he walks in the room, and this guy's dressed up so sharp, best, sharpest looking suit I'd ever seen, anything like that. Rolls up on stage. This guy's floating like this high off the ground, floats up, and he begins doing a PowerPoint presentation. And he starts talking about a company called Big Planet. Okay, this is gonna be a career changer for me. Big Planet. Okay, it's got this big red circle. He starts talking about this company named Big Planet. And he says, this company, the year is 1998. He goes, this company is so far ahead of anybody else out there that they have invented things. They invented this phone that you can call and you can see the other person on it. Video conferencing. And all that needs to happen is two people need to have the phone. So he's like, you basically can sell this phone. You can sell it to your mom and then you could have one. And then you could be at a distance and you could video conference. There's a little webcam you could video conference. What's the name of this phone? It was called the iPhone. It was called the iPhone. And this was before Apple had even invented the iPhone, as far as I know, right? They had developed this thing called the iPhone. And they started going through all these technology. They had this watch. And this watch would speak to you. And it was like this and that. And it was called beepware. And it was before watches were smartwatches. This was in 1998, right? It was crazy. All these technology products called Big Planet. And he says, and there was like 10 of them. And he says, we're a startup company, a technology company, but we're backed by one of the industry leaders. And he said, we're backed by a company called Nu Skin. And then he started drawing circles. He says, you guys want to make some money? Here's you. You refer 3 friends. They refer 3 friends. They refer 3 friends. Bada, bada, bing. You guys know the pitch, right? It was my introduction into what's called MLM, otherwise known as multi-level marketing. So for the first time ever, 1998, I was born in 78. I'm probably 20 years old. Okay, 20 years old, and I'm introduced to MLM, this company called Big Planet. Me and my friends are there. We're so excited. We're salivating out. And he says, how many people are excited right now? We're like, us, we're excited. He goes, think about it. All you got to do is bring your friends here. They're all going to join. When your friends, and he started drawing out a pyramid, right? He's like, you just go like this, and then this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and then you're making millions of dollars, whatever it was. I can't remember. I was in a daze. I was like, and my thought was, everybody in the world is going to want to join this thing. This is the biggest breakthrough I've ever seen of anything in my life. It was like my mind had been elevated so much. I was going, this high school dropout, this ex-criminal, this guy who was locked up for 2 years, this guy who's a busboy at a restaurant, can make $1 million. My belief was through the roof, right? So what did I do? I immediately went home and I started recruiting all my friends. I started telling all my friends about how we're all gonna be millionaires. I'm like, dude, you guys have no idea. This is the most amazing thing ever. And how many of those friends joined and bought and all this kind of stuff? None. I made no money. It was the craziest thing. I was so excited. The company was so amazing. And the Nu Skin was $1 billion company. Clearly they had done some volume. Big Planet was this new cool thing. And I had made no money. I was deflated. I was so let down. But at least I'm selling cars on the weekends and making money here. But I had quit this to go be a network marketer and it didn't work out. Let's go to 1999. This company's not working out, okay? Now, I am downtown Santa Cruz at the coffee roasting company, the Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Company. And I'm gonna be meeting up with my best friend, George Bailey. I'm gonna be meeting up with him in a minute. And I see this sharp couple walk by. They were really sharp dressed. They just looked amazing. Red tie, white shirt, dark suit, the guy, and the girl was like dressed up in a dress. And they were going inside the coffee shop. So I kind of was like, what do these people do? They look successful. And now I had caught the success bug. So, you focus on what you're thinking about, right? So like if you were thinking about going and buying a Tesla, you would start seeing Teslas everywhere, right? That's kind of how it works. So at the time, I was like trying to be successful. So whenever I saw people look sharp, I was always like, I wonder what they do. I wonder how they make their money. So I was like, I'm going to go ask them how they make their money to be so successful. So I went in the coffee shop and I got a coffee and I'm like looking over my shoulder, trying to find a time to go sit down. They were sitting and pitching this young, like 18-year-old kid. They were sitting there and pitching him on this opportunity. I kid you not. Watch how this goes. I walk right up to them. I go, hey, I overheard you guys are talking about like the internet, shopping online, making money online, stuff like that. I go, is this like something that I could learn about? I walked up to them. I don't know if anybody's been in multi-level marketing, but imagine a prospect just walking up to you going, hey, can I hear about this opportunity? Right? Multi-level marketers are trying to pitch everybody. I was trying to be pitched. I wanted to be pitched. So literally, as crazy as it is, here are a couple of what I thought were millionaires sitting at this table. I walk right up to them and I say, check it out. Can I listen to this pitch? This sounds like a great opportunity. They said, sure. So I sit down next to some stranger. We start getting pitched this internet company, this trend of the future. It was called online shopping. It was going to revolutionize everything. That company was called Quickstar. Okay, this was 1999. That company also had a parent company. Just like Big Planet had a parent company, Nu Skin, Quickstar was a brand new company. Their parent company was Amway. So I go through and I watch them. They're going through like this flip chart. It looked about like this big right here. They're going through this flip chart and they're like, yeah, and here's you, and here's your online shopping. Here's all the products you can buy. Here's all these stores we're partnered with, blah, 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 blah. And you can make commissions every single time somebody buys something. I'm like, this is brilliant. I could just tell my friends to shop online, and if they buy something, I get paid. It just sounded cool. It was like when Amazon was just a baby. Amazon was a baby back then in 1999. So then they go, and here's how you can make a lot more money recruiting friends. And I was like, oh my God, it's another one of these multi-levels. But I had learned a little bit about it, but I told them, I said, here's the problem, is I've tried that and it didn't work, right? But they said, well, here's the thing. Right now, we have a launch. It was on 9/1/99. 9/1/99, September 1st. They said, Quickstar is going to open the doors on September 1st, 1999. You have the opportunity to be part of one of the biggest internet launches in history. So at least give this thing a go. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Boom. I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So the car sales thing, let's go back to this. This is not working out. This is not working out. I don't want to say, because I've told you the place and everything, I don't want to go into the details of what happened there, but let's just say that car dealerships sometimes like get a bad reputation because some of the other car sales people are just like sleazy and this and that. I no longer worked at the car sales job. I quit this, okay? And I wasn't making enough money in multi-level marketing because this wasn't working. So what I did was I took a product from this company right here. I took a product that was from Big Planet that was called the DWP. It was called the DWP. And I tried looking it up online and it's like nowhere to be found, okay? So this is really old school. 1998, there was a product that came out called the DWP. It was called the Dynamic Web Page Builder. Dynamic Web Pages, DWP, Dynamic Web Pages. See, in order to have a website, you had to spend a lot of money, like $5,000 or $10,000 to pay some firm to design it. But the DWP was this like out-of-the-box tool that it was like ClickFunnels 20 years ago. It was like Shopify 20 years ago. DWP, they were way ahead of their time, right? And by the way, Big Planet ended up failing as a company because they were too far ahead of their time, right? You know how they say, oh, I'm right on the cutting edge? Big Planet was like on the bleeding edge. They were way before the cutting edge. They were like 10 years ahead of their time, so they didn't get market adoption, which is unfortunate. That company was amazing. I wish it would have worked better. The DWP, so I took one of their products and I said, well, if I can't recruit people, then I'm going to just sell the product to make money. So I kid you not, I quit the car sales job and I decided to make a full-time living as a commission-based sales rep selling this product. It was a web page builder. So that is when I started my own agency, and it was a web design agency. Okay, this was my plan. I was going to take this product called the Dynamic Web Page Builder, and it cost me $200, and I was going to mark it up to $500 and make $300 profit. So my goal was I was going to say, hey, here's a website in a box. You can build it yourself for $500. But I thought nobody's going to take me serious. So I went down to the county recorder building, and I filed a fictitious business name called Record Enterprises, which was my last name, Record Enterprises. And then I went and opened up a bank account, and this cost me like $75 or something. I mean, this was official. I was a sole proprietor. I didn't have a corporation. I just filed my name, Record Enterprises, and went to the bank and opened a business bank account so people could write me a check. Record Enterprises. Then I went business to business, literally walking downtown Santa Cruz, inside every single business. I went to literally every single business, and I had my little briefcase and a little thrift center suit, and I walked around. I didn't even have a laptop, okay? I was in a web design business with no computer. okay? But it didn't matter because I could go to the junior college and use the computers for free. And this was a web program, so I could just log in and access it. So I was like, hey, I can go to the library and work out of the free computers, or I can go to the junior college. So Record Enterprises was born. This was another big turning point for me because this is when I was like truly in business for myself. Even though I was reselling a product, I really like took it serious. It had my name on it. I got my little business cards, right? My business cards were the cheap little perforated ones where you cut them yourself, okay? You could see the rips on the edges. So I went business to business, pitching them. And every single person just kept saying no, 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 no. And then one day what happens is this. I go to the junior college and this kid who's sitting on the computer next to me, we start talking. And he goes, oh, what are you majoring in? What are your classes here? What university are you going to go to? I'm like, oh, I don't even go here. I'm just using the computers because they're free. And he's like, nice little come up there. He's like, why don't you go attend some classes here? They're cheap. And I'm like, oh, I don't have money to pay for the classes. I don't want to pay for the classes. He's like, dude, you're all about hacks, right? You're in here for free. He goes, check this out. They give you a grace period where you can audit a class. You can go into a class and just sit in there for several weeks, but then you have to make a decision whether or not to join that class by like week 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it is, right? So he's like, yeah, you can just go attend a class for several weeks to see if you like it. He's like, it's free. They won't even check you coming in the door. You just walk right in. I was like, you got to be kidding. Anybody in the public can walk right in and start taking class. He's like, yeah, for like a few weeks. I go, boom, let's do it. So I go in, I go through the little class list. It was just dumb classes I didn't care about, like literature and writing and art and things like that I just didn't care about. Then I was in a business mode, right? So I saw small business, like how to start a small business. I was like, boom, this is gonna be my meal ticket to success. So I go in this class and I sit way in the back, okay? And sure enough, nobody checked me. Here I am in the back of the class. And this woman who was the teacher, this is around 99, okay? This woman who was the teacher gets in front of the class as she's teaching, and then one of the students, the class is like some adults in there too. It was like half adults, half kids. The teacher, the student says, teacher, and it was like this guy who was like selling cars. He goes, teacher, he goes, how important is it for my business to have a website? And the teacher's response in 1999 was, my advice is to stick to what works. Okay? Websites are new. The internet is still proving itself. It might be a fad. We don't know yet. So we're going to let the internet figure itself out. I suggest like sticking with what works. Yellow page ads, newspaper ads, stuff like that. And I was in the back, I was fuming because every single day I was pitching this company called Quickstar, which was an online shopping MLM. Right? So this was every single day I'm pitching online statistics, how important the internet is, stuff like that. So when I heard the teacher at Cabrillo College in Santa Cruz, California, when I heard her say the internet was a fad, I couldn't hold myself. So I raised my hand. And she goes, yeah, you in the back. She goes, what's your name? You don't look familiar. And I was like, uh-oh, did I just rat myself out? I said, it's Chris. She goes, oh, well, welcome to the class, Chris. She goes, what's your question? And I go, teacher, how are you so crazy you think the internet is a fad? Give me a break. Look at Amazon.com. Look at this and that. So I started talking this stuff. She goes, well, you obviously seem very passionate about it. If you think that the internet is a good place, if you think a website's a good place for people to have right now for businesses, why don't you come up to the front of the class and you teach it? So I literally, my first day in class that I snuck into, I'm not even a registered student, I didn't even get a GED or a high school equivalency. Nothing. Okay, I'm a dropout. I didn't even register. I walk up to the front of the class, my first day in class at Cabrillo College, and I start telling people about the future of the internet and how I think it's going to revolutionize the world. That was my first day ever public speaking in front of an audience, ever. And I wasn't nervous at all because every day I was giving these little pitches to like 1 or 2 people. So literally my first day public speaking, right? So now at the end of class, I get surrounded by a few students who want to know more information, all the adults. One was like a chiropractor. One was like the car salesman. The other person was like an attorney or a lawyer or something like that. I can't remember what she was. And they all said, can you design a website for us? Now remember, I had this product that was $200, okay? But it wasn't selling for $500. And I was like, oh no, as soon as I say $500, they're all going to say no. So I was insecure. So I said, sure. And they said, how much? And I was like, $300? And And they're like, done. So literally 1, 2, 3. That was 300, 600, 900. That was like literally $1,000 in sales in one night, my first day public speaking. And finally, I started selling this product. And my web design, finally I had customers, 3 customers. So instead of selling them the dynamic web page thing for $200, I just owned it myself, and then I would manage all their sites. So I just built it, and I was their manager of the sites. And I was like, this is way better. I have like 10 clients and then 20 clients, and it grew. So I ended up getting about 25 clients. Okay? Now, during that time, even though I started getting money over the course of the year, this was a hard business. Okay, living in Santa Cruz, California, right by the beach was expensive. Everything was costly to live there, right? And I was in this little 200 square foot studio. I didn't really have any money because I was only selling these things for $300. So over the course of like the year, I had made like $6,000. It really wasn't much money. So I was struggling. So since I was struggling, I went and got a job. Okay? I went and got a full-time job at a place called Santa Cruz Web Design. Now, the reason I got a job was because I was in this MLM, and everything here cost money, and I wasn't making money. Every month they would have a seminar to go to, and every quarter they would have like some big event in like Utah or Dallas, Texas, or something like that. And I would have to drive there, and I'd have to spend money. And then every month I'd have to buy products to qualify. So I was losing money in this, right? But it was costing me money to do this. And I wanted money to be able to buy some materials to be able to give to my people when they joined. I really wanted to become a millionaire, so I was investing in this business. So I needed money, and I wasn't making money here. And I came up with a thought. If I just had a stable job during the day, then I could build my business at night, and I wouldn't have to worry about bills, and then I could build a successful business. So that's what I did. I worked Quickstar by night, and I worked Santa Cruz Web Design with this guy named James. And I know James, the owner, he did reach out to me like a year or 2 ago. So James, if you're watching, I don't know if you still follow me, but that's where you came into my life. And Santa Cruz Web Design, I told myself, I'm just going to walk up to this person confident. They weren't even like hiring, I don't think. I just contacted him, and I didn't see it in like an ad or anything. And I said, listen, all of your web design clients need to get ranked in Google, and I can get all of them ranked in Google, and I want to make $5,000 a month plus commissions. And he was like, whoa, that's like more than my web designers are making, and that's new. So anyways, we went back and forth on negotiation. I forget the terms, but I think he agreed to it. And I started walking, because I didn't have a car. I started walking to work and skateboarding to work, okay? And I was supposed to be work at 9 or 8 a.m. or something like that in the morning, but I was not an early morning riser, so every single day I came in work late, like 10, 11 o'clock. I would just like wake up and barely make it to work in time. I hated jobs. I was no good at jobs. And everybody in that company started to resent me. They started to not like me. It became awkward to come show up. I would come show up and like put on headphones and just work on this little computer. And I was making a lot of money, and it wasn't good. Okay? So literally during that time, I was able to rank their clients in Google. So I did really, really well. I was able to rank their clients in Google. I learned SEO, but then I eventually ended up like getting fired or quit from this job. It just didn't work out for me. So now that I learned SEO skills, search engine optimization, I redesigned my agency. Okay? And now it became an SEO agency. Okay? Now that it was an SEO agency, and this is still like the same years. This is like, I don't know, like 2001 or something like that. I don't know, like 2002 maybe. It's whenever Google, I'd have to go look at it. It's whenever Google was like a fresh new search engine. Clients before that, people are like getting listed in like Alta Vista and Ask Jeeves and Webcrawler and Lycos and stuff like that. This was when Google was first coming out. So I just remember it was hot. Everybody wanted to be listed in it. So I started an SEO agency. But here's what was different. Over here, I was working very, very hard and not making much money. Lots of clients, not much money, struggling, right? I was working hard. And what I did this time with SEO is I went to all these same existing clients and I said, how would you like me to rank your site for SEO? It's like $1,000. And suddenly, several of them said yes, and now I started making big money. Now, instead of making $300 every time I went and made a sale, now instantly I'm making like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 immediately that month, and I'm starting to rank my clients. This became so good that eventually one of my clients, which was a company called FL FL Crooks & Co. They were a clothing company that had designer brands. Tommy Hilfiger, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Bahama, all those kind of things, right? Shirts, shorts, suits, Allen Edmonds, all these top brands. And I had successfully ranked their site for all these top brands in Google. So when you search like Tommy Hilfiger shirts, they were like number 3. When you search Tommy Bahama clothing, they were like number 2. I had ranked them so well. They were making so much money from SEO, and I had only ever charged them like $1,000 or $2,000. That at Christmas time, they sent me this huge delivery. The delivery included like very nice designer shoes, a designer suit, all of this kind of stuff. And I called them up and thanked them. And I'm like, how much is this stuff? They're like, oh, it's several $1,000s worth of stuff. And I was like, what? How can you afford to give me this? And they're like, I forget the total that they gave me, but it was something like, oh no, you helped us make over $1 million this year, or whatever the total was, right? And it dawned on me, I charged them like $1,000 or $2,000. They're making hundreds of thousands or millions off of it. I'm in the wrong business. So I made a decision, instead of being an SEO, instead of just ranking other people's sites, I still had a couple clients. Instead of doing that, I'm actually going to rank my own. And so what I did was I actually basically built out my own SEO network of all my own sites, okay? And I built out like my own business. And this is where I made my first 10K a month, my first 20K a month, and my first 100K a year. It was actually, I made over $100,000 with Amazon.com as an affiliate of them, and I made over $100,000 from Google AdSense, from using their program. So I built out this network of sites that sold stuff on Amazon, but also had Google ads on it. And I just ranked it all in the top of search engines, and I was on fire. I had cracked the code. But eventually, this game changed. Google kept changing their algorithm. It eventually put me out of business, and I ended up losing that income. With what money I had left, it was now right around 2004. Okay, so it's now around 04. With what money I had left, I decided to get into real estate investing. Okay, I was in California, and there was this girl named Julie who was literally like one of our network friends, one of our friends in our community from Santa Cruz, who was broke, and then she had just made like a couple $1 million off of flipping houses, off of buying real estate. The real estate appreciated like 20%. She was in all these houses, and then she sold them. She was also the real estate agent, and she was making a killing. So it got us excited. We're like, oh my God, one of our friends is making a killing. So me and my best friend, George Bailey, we decided to get involved in real estate. He had good credit, and I had cash. So what happened was he went out, and with his good credit, he went out and got like $1 million in real estate. Like all of these homes in Fresno, California, okay? He got like $1 million in real estate, and I was like his money guy. So like to be able to help float the mortgages while people were renting them and stuff like that, I was coming in with money to be able to help out in that like journey with him, right? To kind of be like the backup. Because I knew as long as those properties went up, we would do fine. So they were in George's name, and yet I was the money guy. Well, in 04 to like 05, real estate was starting to tank. Not tank, but it had flattened out. It was no longer appreciating. And we had problems where like people were going in to lease the house, and then they would squat in the house and they would stay in there for months. We had to have sheriffs evict them. People are trying to create like meth labs inside these rentals. It's 3 hours away from us, so we're not even like driving there to go see them. It was our worst experience ever. We had no idea what we were doing. We got caught emotionally thinking that it was the right decision back then in 04 and 05. So unfortunately, what happened was I lost all my money. In one last-ditch effort to try to make money, I joined another MLM. This MLM was called WLG, World Leadership Group. Okay, the founder was a guy named like Hubert Humphrey, I think it was. He's also the guy who created World Financial Group, and I think he was involved in Primerica, companies like that. WLG was essentially a company that did loans. So I could do loans, and I could make commissions on loans. And they basically, the way that somebody told us this, they're like, hey, you guys used to be in Amway, right? Me and George. We're like, yeah. They're like, this is essentially the Amway of real estate. He says, back then you guys weren't making any money because you were just selling soap and vitamins. But we sell transactions in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars. And you get paid a commission on that. So instead of making like $20, $50, $100 and somebody signs up, you can literally make $10,000 in commissions off of a single transaction. And so it got our attention. We're like, okay, that's how we're gonna save ourselves. So we start doing loans and we start pumping these pipelines full of loans. We're hustling. I had about 20 loans in the pipeline. But for whatever reason, none of them were closing. And I couldn't figure out why. We'd go to these weekly meetings and these people are sitting there showing checks how they made $50,000 last month, $100,000 last month. And it turns out like they were doing like a lot of loans within their family, right? They were doing loans within their community, their culture. And I was sitting here going like, how are they making so much money? Well, needless to say, I didn't make it last. And this was the end of 2005. I found myself broke, out of money, okay? 485 credit score. My credit had never improved, okay? Negative $200 in the bank. I mean, I'm literally broke. I'm getting evicted. And to make matters worse, with my girlfriend at the time, we get in a car crash, okay? She's driving, a car hits us. Some bicyclist that was riding by said that it was our fault, even though we got rear-ended, so we didn't get any money from it. We lost the car, and I got whiplash. I got whiplash so bad that I couldn't even stand for like longer than 20, 30 minutes at a time. And I'm just broke. This was the worst period of my entrepreneur journey, the worst period. So what happened right here when I was broke is my friend George Bailey calls me the day of the accident, and he goes, I found a way for us to be successful. Now keep in mind, George has been on this whole journey with me. Nothing has worked. Every time George has an idea, it's always some like random thing. Like it was George's idea to get involved in real estate. It was George's idea to get involved in loans. And his idea, he's always pitching me these ideas and I'm always the skeptical friend. But then as soon as he like convinces me of it, then I go all in with it, even more all in than he gets. And that's just that's how our dynamic has been. So literally at this point, I'm giving up. George calls me and says, I found this guy, he's a local chiropractor. He got involved in real estate investing and he also was like losing some money. And then he found a company where you can earn commissions selling education. And he started using the education and he just bought a bunch of properties. They're making money on foreclosures, even in a down market. He says the reason we were losing money is we bought when the market was going down. You can actually make money in today's market if you buy short sales, if you buy foreclosures, if you do wholesaling, and they teach you how to do all that. There's a meeting tonight. Let's go, let's find out if we can make money. So we went and we sat in the room. I stood up in the back of the room because my neck was hurting so bad from getting whiplash. I stood in the back of the room and we sat and we watched this presentation. This guy, Steve Clegg, who's a chiropractor in Roseville, California, he's pretty smooth. He's pitching this thing, sounds pretty smooth, and it's a company called, first of all, it's an MLM. I had no idea it was. It was a company called Nouveau Riche, okay? So he starts telling me, he goes, yeah, there's this school, you can learn all about real estate investing, how to fix and flip, how to rehab, how to buy apartment complexes, how to do wholesaling, and it's $20,000 to go to school. I'm like, count me out, that's too much money. And he goes, but we're looking for some sales reps. If you want to sell this, we'll give you half of whatever you sell. Here's all these different products, we'll give you half. And I'm like, wait, let me see if I got this straight. If I sell somebody on $20,000 to go to this school to learn about real estate investing, I make 10. And they had another package for 16 that was even easier to sell. I said, wait, if I sell that for 16, I make $8,000, literally. And how quickly can I get paid? Is it months? They're like, no, we pay every week. I'm like, you're kidding me. I can literally get paid in a week. If I get somebody right now to buy this for 20 grand, I can make 10 grand next week. So I saw a solution. It was far-fetched, but I saw a solution. And then the wind got sucked out of my sails. It was an opportunity where you had to join in order to be able to sell it, or alternatively, your first 5 sales would qualify you for commissions. And I was like, okay, I'll have to do the first 5. How much do I make on those first 5 sales instead of half? They said, you make none. I'm like, well, where does the money go? The money goes to the person who referred you. So I'm like, wait, let me get this straight. If I sell $100,000 right now, 50,000 goes to my person who referred me. Literally, 50 grand straight to them. Who was the doctor, Steve Clegg. I'm like, you make 50 grand. If I refer 100,000, I make nothing. I'm like, how much will you kick me back? He's like, sorry, bro, can't break the rules. You got to do it or not. You either got to come up with 20 grand to buy your way in or do 5 sales. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I started walking out the room like this. So imagine this is the back door. I started walking out the room. And then almost like an invisible field right here. I know it sounds spiritual, but this was a big defining moment for me. Almost like an invisible field right here stops me. And it just stops me. And I'm standing there in the doorway, and I think, instead of saying, I can't, learn how to say, how can I? Right? And I turn around. Instead of saying, I can't, how can I? How can I come up with the money? How can I come up with the $20,000? There has to be a way to do this. What's the alternative? The alternative is like, I move back to Santa Cruz, I give up on entrepreneurship, and I go get a job at the movie theater, right? What is the alternative? Instead of saying, I can't, I learned to say, how can I? That's what phase of my journey this was. How can I? Okay? That's a big part of my journey. How can I? What happened was I walked back in, I went to this guy, Steve Clegg, and I said, listen, I don't have the money. I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. My bank account is negative by $200. I'm getting evicted. The reason I'm in the back like this is because I got in a car accident, okay? I can't even afford a chiropractor right now. I'm losing the case. No money, okay? Nothing. I'm on my last limbs. Is there anything you can do? He's like, dude, you just gotta hustle, bro. He's like, if you want it, you just gotta go get it. And I said, listen, do you have anybody that would loan me the money? They're like, he told me, he's like, listen, he's like, I don't know you. Nobody knows you. You have no collateral. You have no assets. You have no credit. Who's going to loan you money? He goes, tell you what, here's what I'll do. I'll put feelers out to a couple other people in my team, and I'll tell them to watch you. Okay? And over the next, we're having a meeting on Thursday. We're having another one on Tuesday and another one on Thursday. You're able to bring guests. And when you bring guests, they can put your name on the guest list. Okay? I will have these people watch you. I'm not going to tell you who, but I'll have people watch you. And if you prove yourself over the next few weeks, maybe one of them will loan you the money. But you've got to earn it. You've got to prove yourself. And that was it. Give me a seed of opportunity, I'll take it. And so what I did with no money is I went out from that meeting the next day. I went on Craigslist, started going like placing guerrilla marketing ads. I started putting roadside signs in the ground. I started putting flyers all over town. If somebody came within 3 feet of me, boom, I was starting a conversation. I didn't care. I was so out of my comfort zone. I was going to fix this. I was broke. I needed to fix this immediately. So if somebody came within 3 feet of me, I was like, hey, just excuse me real quick. I've got an interest. Just excuse me real quick. I've got a quick question. Do you have any desire to learn how to invest in real estate? We're putting together a local real estate investor community. We have a free workshop on Tuesday. I've got a couple extra tickets. If you have any interest at all in going, I'm able to invite you as my guest. We're teaching how to be able to make money investing in real estate. Literally, I was just throwing up on people, straight up like that. And it was working. It was working. Like 1 out of 10. Like 9 out of 10 would be like, get out of here, right? Like I'm some homeless panhandler, right? But 1 out of 10 is like, okay, sure. And so what happened, I just got so aggressive that like 2 days later, I had like 10 or 15 guests. And then the next Tuesday over the weekend, I got like another 20 guests. And then the next Thursday, I had like 30 guests. Everybody else would have like, their name would have one guest on the list. And then if you look at the guest list, it was going, invited by Chris Record, invited by Chris Record, invited by Chris Record. It was filled. And I told this guy, Steve, after the meeting, I'm like, look, I got like 20 guests. Come on, meet them. And I had about 10 people interested in joining. And I went to this guy, Steve, and I said, Steve, look, I got like 10 people interested in joining. I proved myself. Is there any chance? And Steve looked at me and said, you know what, Chris? I've told that to so many people and nobody else has done it. You're the only one. He's like, I got a guy who's willing to invest in you. And his friend, Jim, this like, I forget the guy's last name, Jim Park, maybe something like that. This guy is just an investor, a real estate investor. He was watching me and he gave me a $20,000 loan. And he sat there and it was just a non-collateral, personal guarantee loan. He's just like, I'm trusting you, man. And I get this. Here I am, somebody's willing to give me $20,000 and I say there's one condition. And he's like, really, what's that? And I said, you got to give my best friend, George Bailey, a $20,000 loan too. He's like, wait, $40,000? I said, that's the condition. And I said, not only that, $20,000 goes immediately to the company. We don't even get any of that. So I still can't even save my house or anything like that. It's got to be $25,000. Somehow I negotiated $50,000 and he gave me like $5,000 and then $20,000 went direct. He used the card to go directly to the company. He gave George $5,000, $20,000 went directly to the company. And we had bought our way in. And the reason I had him do George is because George referred me. I wanted my sale to count for him. You know, I wanted it to count as one of his sales. So literally, how crazy is this that some random person that we didn't even know loaned us the money based on our effort. See, that's the difference. When you say I can't, you're right. That's why Henry Ford has a famous quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Because perception is reality and we create our own reality. I had been walking down this path of I can't for so long. I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do any of this because I don't have the money, right? I had been walking down that path for so long. And here I was finally able to say I can. And I didn't know how. That's the thing. I just had no idea how. I had to literally go out there and try to make this work. Okay? Hold on, are we good? Everything good? I had to go out there and I had to make this work. So watch what happened. We got our chance. All I needed was a chance. We bought in this program and I took this thing so serious that in this company, Nouveau Riche, selling real estate investment education, this was now 2006. Okay? So now we're in 2006. In the summer, this was like June or July 2006. Okay? I made 18,000, next month 24,000, 32,000, 40,000, 50,000, and 75,000, and then 150,000. And that's in a single month. In a single month, every single month, 16,000, next month, 24,000, next month, 32,000, because I was making either $8,000 commissions or $10,000 commissions. Altogether, my first year was roughly $500,000. Okay? So I want to paint this story here because in 2005, right here, I went broke. I lost all my money, getting eviction, car accident, 485 credit score, negative bank account, and I didn't have money, but I learned to say, how can I? And then by the end of the year here, all of 2006, I had made $500,000. I went from six-figure income over here to losing it all to then making $500,000, you know? And here's the thing. Sometimes in life, you've got to take those chances. You've got to jump on opportunities when they come around, okay? So where did I go? From WLG, this was an interesting thing because I had quit WLG and joined Nouveau Riche, which was the real estate. I went to loans to real estate, right? It was really, really cool. I had gone from technology MLM to online shopping MLM to the Amway of real estate, all the way to a real estate investing MLM that was big ticket, high ticket. And I finally found something I could make money in. But unfortunately, timing's everything. From 2006 to 2009, okay, the market kept tanking. We went through the biggest financial crisis ever. The real estate market just got devastated, annihilated. The financial markets got screwed. Credit markets got screwed. The economy got screwed. We went into a recession. It was so bad, right? So in 2008, I made a gutsy decision. In 2008, I made an investment of $250,000, okay, to buy a position which was called an INA. I don't even remember what it was. Independent National Advisor, right? A national advisor for the company, for NR, for Nouveau Riche. I purchased for $250,000, which was essentially something similar to like a franchise, right? It was like I basically bought a territory. It gave me the rights to be able to override all the sales in North Carolina, Virginia, Washington, D.C., all that East Coast. But the problem is I've never been there in my life. And I lived in California. So in order to do this, I had to move. I had to move to the East Coast. And I had to put up $250,000 for a fee to have the right to be able to earn that back in 2008. That was the biggest gamble I made. Honestly, probably one of the stupidest decisions financially I've ever made. And here's why. Because I was on fire in the company. Think about it. In 2007, I had just made literally roughly $500,000. Okay, I had made $1 million with this company. So $500,000, but obviously I was spending a lot of that money. So I didn't have the whole $250K. Okay, so I had to borrow from a friend $100,000. Okay, maybe a little more. And this is my friend David, a close friend of mine. David was basically with me the whole entire time, doing the sound systems, doing stuff like that. David K, one of my friends, he even was living with us at the time. So David moved to the East Coast with us. So did a bunch of friends. A whole bunch of us moved. George Bailey moved out there. 10 or 15 of us moved out there, and we built this new territory. But the market crashed on us. That $250,000 that I had just paid to Nouveau Riche for this position, gone. The company, gone. The opportunity, gone. Everything gone. I lost this $250,000, but this $100,000 there, I was still on the hook for it because I did a personal guarantee. So that person that loaned me the 100, so even though I put my own money in and lost all my own money, even though it was a business opportunity, this guy said, hey, Chris, I don't have skills like you to make that money back. Can you do a personal guarantee? Meaning, can you just pay me back? He's like, I know you got to rebuild your whole career. Can you pay me back over time? And I said, okay. And he stayed with, since he was a little bit broke at the time, he stayed with some of my friends, stayed with us. We moved back to California and kind of got restarted again. Okay? I'm going to come back to this in a minute because this ends up, there's two things that end up catching up to me. Okay? One is going to be that debt, that $100,000 debt. And two is going to be taxes. Taxes. On that $500,000 and almost $1 million in commissions that I had earned, I hadn't filed my taxes yet. So I wasn't setting money aside for those taxes. I had full intention to pay them. I just hadn't set money aside for it. I hadn't thought, hey, when I get a $20,000 paycheck, I should set aside $8,000 or $6,000 over here in a tax fund, right? Instead, I just reinvested it on my business, traveling, figured, hey, I'm going full speed business. It didn't feel like profit. But I was spending all cash because I didn't have credit. So since I didn't have credit, I was spending all cash and I wasn't getting receipts. And the receipts that I did have were misorganized. They were all over the place. So when it came to file taxes, my accountant said, where's all the receipts for all of this? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't have them. I'm like, but I know it was like all write-offs. I spent it all on business. And he's like, listen, we got to have some proof. He's like, if I'm going to file this for you, we need proof. These two things ended up haunting me for years. 6 figures in taxes, 6 figures in debt. And the whole economy is shooken up. Okay? Then, I'm going to keep going. Then what happens is in 2010, right here, move to California. Okay? And then what I did was, in 2010, a reality TV show. It was an interesting idea. 7 of us guys, and I had married in 2009. I got married to my girlfriend. Got married, and that was in like 2009. It was pretty amazing. And then in 2010, she was pregnant. So we moved with pregnant wife. Pregnant wife. It's a pretty big move. And we lived in a house with 7 guys, and my friend Kyle Garrett, who I'll bring back in a little bit here to talk about it. My friend Kyle Garrett filmed us. So every single day we filmed our life and we did a reality TV show series of 7 guys moving to California and starting an internet startup. The startup was a social media marketing agency, a social media marketing company in 2010. It was the right time. We were ahead of the trends. We were there first. And our signature product was called the Free Blog Factory, okay, which was a brainchild of my friend Arthur Tubman. The Free Blog Factory. This was in 2010. This is our signature product. We came up with this idea. Arthur had this basic idea. We had found this outsourcer that could install and build WordPress sites for about $10 a site. And then he had figured out that HostGator, the hosting company, paid $125 commission for every new client you signed up. So Arthur got this idea. It's like, hey, HostGator, the hosting company, is willing to pay me over $100, and it only costs me $10 to have a site built. Why don't I just give the site away for free and people just pay for hosting? So his whole thing was, I will design and give you a website for free. I will design a website for you, give you a website, do everything absolutely free. All you have to do is sign up for hosting right here with me. And that was it. And it worked out pretty well. So literally, Free Blog Factory was born. This ended up taking off, and this did hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? 6 figures. But there was 7 guys. So 6 figures wasn't a lot of money for 7 guys. And not only that, it was a lot of drama or filming a reality show, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, this was a fun project, but since there was 7 guys, there was just always, literally always a lot of fighting, I'll draw out 2 people fighting here. There's always a lot of fighting, and there's me with the hat. Okay. There's always a lot of fighting, and not fighting physically, but just arguing. 7 guys living in one house together, building a business together. Everybody has a different vision. It was just very, very difficult. So I ended up leaving this company and going, and at this point, my wife is pregnant, so we move again, and I get a job with a salary. I work for a company called Max Sound, okay? And I don't even know what happens to that. That just kind of falls apart after I leave. I work for a company called Max Sound. This guy, Greg, he basically hires me to be the Chief Internet Officer. CIO was my actual title, CIO, Chief Internet Officer for a company called Max Sound, which did high definition audio. So what they did was they took like files and they made them better quality. And this was a big emerging trend. And he said, I can have 10% of the company and I can make, 6-figure salary and I can work from home because I had a brand new child that was being born. So this sounded ideal. I get to work from home, be a new dad. I get a 6-figure base salary and 10%. So I could still have an opportunity. So I worked for this company for 3 years. And while I'm working for this company, I get the bug again. I get the bug, and an MLM company comes around, and this is probably like 2011, probably 2011 to 2012 maybe. An MLM company comes around called Visalis. Visalis is a company that does like these like weight loss shakes and protein shakes. Anyways, all these people were losing weight and they were looking very fit. I was living in San Diego at the time. We had moved to San Diego, California. And so I said, you know what? I don't know if I want to build this because I have a full-time job that's like 80 hours a week, plus I have a kid, okay? So a new father. So I don't really have a lot of time to build this, but I said, but I'm interested in losing weight. I had gained a lot of weight. I weighed about 225 pounds. And right now, to put that in perspective, I weigh around 175. So that's about 50 pounds heavier. I gained a lot of weight. So what I did was I tried these products and I lost around like 40 pounds on the shakes and stuff. So because I lost 40 pounds, everybody was asking me about it. I said, fine, I'll join, but I don't want to build. I just referred people and I qualified for like the car program that they had. I qualified for this and they kept trying to get me to build this, but I never did. I never really did anything there. I mostly just used it as a product. But I opened my mind that I was open-minded to multi-level marketing because I thought as long as it's something that doesn't take a lot of time. That's when this company, 2012 to 2013, that's when this company called Empower Network comes over. Now, this company called Empower Network, I start hearing about it from everybody. Literally, it seemed like 2-3 times a week, somebody was telling me about this new multi-level marketing company. It was an MLM. This new multi-level marketing company called Empower Network by these 2 guys down in Costa Rica that had started this new company and people were making a fortune. As I started researching, the thing that triggered me was there was a guy in Visalis, this guy named Lawrence Tam, who was also in Empower Network. He was in both. And this guy was using Empower Network to generate leads for his Visalis business. And what I loved about it was I didn't like MLMs because all anybody did was recruit people to recruit people to recruit people. It was like making money off their friends. I never really liked it. I always thought the products were cool to use, but I never really liked people just recruiting people. Well, this guy Lawrence had like 1,000 customers. Or I don't know how many. He had hundreds and hundreds of customers, all direct to him. And he was getting all these customers by marketing here. And it was brilliant. I was like, wow, he figured out a way to do this right using internet marketing. More people should build MLM using internet marketing. And so I started looking into Empower Network. There was all these different teams to join. And I was like, I don't want to join a team because I don't want anybody like pressuring me. I just want to do it my own way. So I joined direct to the founders of the company, joined in with my good friends, George Bailey and Peter Sorensen. And we all kind of joined forces together and we just started building Empower Network. And we did it different. Everybody else was doing it like schemy internet marketing tactics. But I had my friend Kyle Garrett from this reality show. My friend Kyle, I had him film us a professional video. I said, can you make a professional sales video with all of us in it? He films it and it's very professional. It's very elegant. People started joining because of our community and because of our culture. And this thing took off. In about 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day, I built up about an income that made an extra $500,000 in commissions, okay? And here's what's crazy. I made this money while working a full-time job. I never quit the job. So I'd work a full-time job 80 hours a week. I was a parent, and on the side, I made $500,000 in commissions, which was significantly more. I was making around $12,000 a month here. So I was making about $150,000 a year here with benefits. And then here, $500,000 in commissions, working less, working smart. So this really got me. Now what happened was eventually this became a conflict of interest. Max Sound didn't like that I was doing this. So it became kind of like tough. And eventually I ended up losing my stock options over that conflict of interest, which really, really sucked. Then, secondly, something else big happened in my life. First we had our second kid. So now we have our second child, but then something else happened. Okay, so we have my son Reston, who is now 2, and my son Raiden, who is a newborn. And everything's kind of on top of the world. I've got this nice job, I've got this nice income, everything's great. But Reston at age 2 years old starts regressing and gets diagnosed with autism. This is in 2013. Okay? Let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. So on this timeline here, 2013, I call this the autism phase and the depression phase and the death phase. Okay? This phase was very, very tough. This year was very tough. I ended up losing, I basically, look at the things that happened over here. I lost my job because I went to my boss and I said, hey, listen, I need to back down to like 40 hours a week because my son's diagnosed with autism. And he wasn't having it. He needed me full time over there, which was 80 hours a week. He needed me on board. He wasn't going to work. And also there was already a conflict of interest because I was publicly making all this money with another company. I was becoming one of the leaders of that other company. So he just cut me. Okay, cut me, kept the stock. I would have had to sue him. I would have had to lawyer up. I went and talked to a lawyer. It would have been like over $100,000 in legal fees. I was like, screw it. So I lost my job, lost my stocks, and my wife's dad dies, which was a big thing. He was like the patriarch of the family, you know. He was the leader of the family. He dies of cancer. And we have, think about our situation. We have a 2-year-old who's regressed, lost his speaking, lost his eye contact, lost his social skills, lost everything. So it's devastating us. We're trying to figure out what this autism thing is. We have a newborn child, and at the same exact time, my ex-wife's father passes away, dies. So does her cousin. This is a big year for us because it's a lot of death. It's a lot of things that are going wrong. And I end up also leaving. I left Empower Network. I couldn't focus. I left Empower Network, left the job, left everything. And for that whole year, we just focused on autism. We just focused on raising kids, being a father, and doing it. Okay? So now, at the end of the year, I need to reinvest myself. I need to reinvent myself. And I'm depressed, right? So what happens is I get a hold of an audiobook called the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And if you guys haven't got that yet, get that. It's called the 10X Rule. It's an audiobook. I just got it on my phone and I started listening to this. And now I'm an extremist. So what I did was I listened to this audiobook every single day on repeat. I just put it on repeat on my computer and on my phone, and I just listened to it all day, every day. I didn't even turn it off. Okay? If people came over, I would just turn it down faintly so I'd remember it's there and then turn it back up. Every single day. And it took me about 30 days. But after about 30 days, I got my confidence back and I said, you know what? Let's give it one more go. But this time, let's go bigger than ever before. So what I did was I went online and I started researching people. I set a new goal. My new goal after being depressed was to 10x. So instead of making like $100,000 a year, okay, like a 6-figure income, $100,000, $200,000, even $200,000 a year, instead of making even $20,000 a month, instead of doing that, my new goal was to 10x that. So instead of 20,000, my goal was to make 2 million a year. Okay? My goal was to make 10x, even $200,000 a month. Okay? I got some new goals. They were big. And I said, so what I did was I said, I am going to find people that are making this kind of money, and I'm going to find out how I could do it. Not something that takes 10 years, not something I got to go get degrees for. How can I make this kind of money? So I went on a mission. So I started searching, and I found an industry that a lot of people were making a lot of money in. And it was called digital publishing. Okay? Also known as product launches. Okay? One of the guys that I had come across at that time was a guy named Alex Becker. Okay? This right here, this guy Alex Becker, I came across a few guys, but another one of the guys, I'll throw out a couple names. Another one of the guys was Anik Singhal. Another one of the guys was Anthony Morrison. So I started basically looking online, and these people were making millions of dollars, or at least what was perceived as millions. Obviously, I never saw their bank accounts, but they were doing it, and they were just like me. I was like, there's no way that I can't also do this. Like, I just felt like instead of modeling after everything else, I'm going to follow successful people. Successful people leave clues. I'm going to figure out what they're doing, and I'm going to do it. So a lot of them were doing digital product launches. What they were doing was they were creating a course, and then they were selling it. So they take like one time and they'd create a big video course, they put it in a membership site, and then they'd sell it. So in 2013, I partnered up with my friend Arthur. Do you remember the guy from Free Blog Factory? And he also had an interest in this. I partnered up with Arthur, and we did a course called Penny Click Profits. And I don't remember the exact numbers. I think we sold it for like $297. And it did around like $100,000 in sales. The course essentially taught how to build Facebook fan pages, and it was like a 6-week boot camp. So every week we just went and did these meetings. That was pretty cool. That was my first taste in actually getting back on track. But it was only like $100,000 or $150,000, whatever it was, and we were splitting it between 2 people, so it really wasn't getting me here. Okay? So I knew in order to get these big goals, I had to go big. And that's where I decided to go really big with product launches. I got my taste of it. I decided to break out on my own. I decided to do product launches. So in 2014, I launched a product called Dark Post Profits. Okay? I charge $100, flat $100 for the course. The course gets around 5,000 buyers over the whole year. Roughly $500,000 in sales, okay, through a variety of sources. Okay, Dark Post Profits, $500,000. And finally, I had figured out how to be able to launch courses, but I knew in order to reach the goal of $1 million or $2 million a year, what I needed to do was I needed to do like one of these per quarter, okay? So I get ready and I start planning, but what happens is I get a phone call. I get a phone call from, and this is at the end of 2014, so we're still in 2014. I get a phone call from the original founder of Empower Network, okay, this guy, David Wood. And he goes, Chris, man, I've been watching you. Too bad you're not promoting Empower Network like you used to, man. The company's killing it. The company has gone through some transitions recently. Our last launch didn't go so well. We want to rebuild this whole entire blogging platform, and there's nobody that understands it better than you. You were one of the top leaders. And I'm like, no, David, I'm busy with this. This is going really well right now. And he's like, listen, it won't take much of your time. We will pay you, okay, very handsomely. We'll pay you a lot of money to build the brand new blogging platform for Empower Network. So I said, you know what, to an old friend, I said, why not? And what I did was I went and got an office. I went and got employees. And I built a multi-user blog platform. Now, I didn't build it myself. It was mostly built by my employees, obviously. I'm not a coder, but I spearheaded it, got the deal, stuff like that. This was at the end of 2014. Okay, so the end of 2014. But what happens is, Empower Network is having struggles. They're not really surviving. They're losing, the leadership keeps changing. All these things kept changing. And I'm owed $75,000 for the blog platform that I'm fronting. And out of that $75,000, they gave me a call and said, hey, we can't pay. And I start calling David. I start calling him, messaging him, David, what's up? David just doesn't answer my phone he doesn't answer my calls for months. And I'm sitting here going, oh my God, I'm never going to get this money. I've got this office. I've got these employees. I've got everything. I'm never going to get this money. And I held on to it. It's going to come. And then eventually I just said, I'm never going to get that money. This company's going to go out of business. I better change really quick or I'm not going to be able to feed my employees. So since I already had all these employees and I already had all this stuff going, I said, why don't I go back to what was just working? But let's do it better. So in 2015, what I did was I decided to relaunch Dark Post Profits 2, okay, 2.0. I decided to relaunch Dark Post Profits 2.0. This time I was going to sell it for $297, okay? And I was going to get a bunch of affiliates to promote it based on the success here. One problem. In order to do this right, we couldn't launch this until about March 2015. It was going to take us that long to do it right. So in order to make money from January to March, because we weren't getting paid here and we were behind on bills, we created a mastermind called WIDO, Week in the Office. And what it was you get to spend a week in my office. It was $15K, and a group of people got to come out and spend a week in my office, and I would show them how I did this product launch right here. It was a fantastic idea. The problem with this is during this time, people don't realize it, I'm actually going through a divorce. It's not really final. We're technically in therapy and counseling and stuff like that, but I'm going through a divorce. Not only that, I'm drinking heavily. And not only that, but even though people are in here, not everybody had what it took to launch a course. It was kind of like they were coming in and learning an advanced thing. About half the people in the room had the ability and about half the people didn't. It was my first time understanding a high-end mastermind. So it carried us to the launch, but at the same time, I learned a lot from that mastermind. I loved it, but what I would do differently than that mastermind was wouldn't get so drunk every single night, and I wouldn't have people that were absolute beginners there. I mean, some people, we had one woman in the front of the room asking, what is a blog? What is WordPress? What is a product launch? And I'm going, how did you spend $15,000 to come here if you don't even know what those are? So it was really an interesting experience, my first thing. But at least it carried us. We survived. We made it to, because we didn't get this money. We survived. We made it to Dark Post Profits 2. And I did my best to deliver as much value as I could, even though half of the room wasn't ready for product launches yet. This product launch goes, and it's a success. In 5 days, we do $850,000 in sales in its first 5 days. So this is a success. We're back on the map. And then sure enough, I told myself, okay, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 to do launch. Just like this. Now that I got employees, have them start working on things. And that's what we did. We did several launches. I think it was like, I don't remember the numbers right off the bat, but it was like we did somewhere around like 10 million in overall sales within a couple years, between like 1 to 2 years. I'd have to get the exact stats, so I don't have those in front of me. But we made it. We 10x the goals. I took that goal of wanting to create $1 million to $2 million a year, 10 million. Now, of course, this isn't net profit. So in a minute, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dive in. I want a timeline first, and then I wanna dive into the story behind this and really get you to understand. But this is where it blew up. We just started doing these product launches, getting affiliates in between. So what we do is we would launch something here, and here. And then in between this, we would promote somebody else's offers. We'd promote some, because we had a new list. And this became the cycle, okay? Where we'd launch something, let's call this a launch. We'd launch, then promote other offers. Launch, promote other offers. And this became the power of being able to generate millions of dollars online with a small team, with a small office. Now, in comes the end of 2015 to 2016. So the end of 2015, okay, it's official. I get a divorce. Okay? And I move to Arizona from California, and I start over. Closed the office, closed everything. So now let's enter into 2016. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to explain some of this stuff in here. But now let's enter 2016. 2016, I basically invest all my money, all of it, every dime that I have, I invest all my money and start up a company called Techademics. Okay? This is a school in Arizona. Okay, so let's go through Techademics, right? So what's interesting about Techademics is, and what's interesting about Arizona is this. I had this idea. A decade earlier, I was in that company Nouveau Riche, right? Let's go back to that really quick just to show you. A decade earlier, I'm in this company called Nouveau Riche. Okay, where is it? That's one further. Okay. I'm in this company called Nouveau Riche right here. Okay? I'm in an MLM company called Nouveau Riche in the years like 2006, 7, 8, and 9. Okay? This company is a school that taught real estate investing, and it was like one of the best opportunities I've ever seen. Okay? But because the economy went down, because the economy tanked, that company went out of business. Remember, I had invested $250,000, right? So so what I did was to school in Arizona, I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to reinvent this concept, but instead of real estate investing, replace it with internet marketing. Okay, this vision came to me and Peter Sorensen, we're brainstorming it. Me and Peter got together, we're like, man, if we could do what Nouveau Riche did a decade ago, but instead of real estate investing, do internet marketing, a digital marketing school, this would be unbelievable. And I was like, man, I don't have what it takes to do that right now. I'm beaten up after a divorce. I'm not feeling it. If we were going to do this, we would need to go back to the original founder of that company and see if he wanted to partner up. So literally, we went to Las Vegas and met up with a guy named Jim Piccolo. Okay? And we met up with this guy, Jim Piccolo, in Las Vegas, sat down with him at P.F. Chang's. I'm in Vegas now. It's P.F. Chang's right on the strip. Sat down with him, and I pitched him face to face, and I said, listen, Jim, what you did a decade ago with real estate investing, imagine if it was digital marketing. Imagine if instead of just being in the United States, because his company was only US, imagine if it was global. Instead of being involved in an economy like real estate that's up and down, imagine if it was just social media, internet marketing, where there's always an opportunity. Imagine if we could do it again. Anyways, he was sold. He wanted to do it. But there were some catches on both sides. There was catches on my side and catches on Jim's side. Okay? So me and Jim. The catches on my side was, I said, well, Jim, there's some things you need to know. I'll put up the money. So I'll put in all the money. So I'll put in all the money and I'll pay your salary. I'll pay everything. So I'll put up all the money. You don't need to worry about that. I'll put up the idea. I'll put up everything. I'll use all my connections and everything. But I don't have what it takes to scale a business. I have tried these little small offices. They're too difficult. I said, but Jim, I have this past tax debt. Okay? I've got this past tax. I've got these past debt. And I said, I've got credit issues, bad credit. Okay? I said, this is my situation. I said, that's where I'm coming from. But I've got money coming off these launches. I'll throw the money into Techademics. I still owe money on taxes, but I'll let it ride. Okay? Jim, on his side, is like, well, right now, he was just coming off of a lack of businesses not working, and he had gone bankrupt after whatever financial stuff he had to go through, losing his wealth after the fall of Nouveau Riche and the fall of all of his real estate empire. So I was able to help him out financially during that time frame, right? I was the investor in the company. He was able to get salary. I didn't pull a salary or anything like that. Now, I'm not saying like helped him out financially like he needed it. No, he had a company. He could have done what he was doing. It's not like he needed me. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he was like homeless or anything. But I'm just saying, I basically put up the money. I did not require him to be an investor in it. But I said we had to use his credit because my credit was tanked. And I wanted some help with my taxes and also with my divorce. I said, hey, I've also got this divorce. That is an issue. I said, we got to go through the divorce. So I said, I laid it all on the table. I said, if you're down to partner. Now, on Jim's side, He had, so I had to handle the money stuff. And then, because the reason I say handle money, I just want to make sure it doesn't come across like he was some broke guy. No, in order for him to leave this other company that he was starting, in order for him to leave that project, he needed to know that there was sufficient revenue on the table. So I made sure to provide that. But on his side, he was coming off of a bad reputation. Okay, that was the biggest thing when starting the company was everybody that I went to that said, wait, you're partnering with Jim Piccolo, are you crazy? Everybody said, don't do it because it was bad reputation. Obviously, you're able to Google search it and see it. Everybody saw it, right? All these big affiliates are like, no. But the way that I saw it was Jim had gone through this near-death experience. He almost died, or actually technically did die, and then survived it. He had already taken a big beating by real estate. To a certain extent, you could say some maybe was his fault, but also who didn't take a real estate beating? In 2000, go back to the biggest real estate tycoons or anybody in 2008, 2009, and go see what happened to their portfolio. Everybody got smashed. The whole economy got smashed. The whole country was in real estate, was in a recession. If you remember, Obama had to go do the big government bailouts. Big companies had to be bailed out by the government. So it's not like Jim failed because of Jim. I mean, obviously the economy failed, but obviously he had a bad reputation. A lot of the people were like, okay, Chris, if you're going to align yourself with, because I had a really good reputation. My reputation was flying. So I knew that. I knew that would happen, but I figured like it was ready. Things were different, right? So I was able to put all that past us. He was able to put my stuff past, and I was able to accept his stuff, and we partnered. Okay, we filed an LLC, and we did a partnership. And what we did was we formed Techademics, and we started building. First year was a success. I used my connections, and we generated several million. I don't know how much million. Maybe it was like 7 million roughly in sales. And that bootstrapped us the first year. We launched, we carried it. I don't know the total sales numbers offhand because I'll explain why I don't know them, but it's like roughly like $20 million in sales. So we start up Techademics, things are flying, okay? Then, this is pretty crazy, right? What happens is I'm backstage at an event, and for those of you watching, I've never shared this before, but I'm backstage at an event, and I get served papers, okay? I literally get served papers. Who did I get served papers by? My old friend. Remember this guy back here? Let me go back. Let's see, hold on. Go back. Okay. My old friend, remember when I did this $250,000, right? So I'll put it bigger because this thing's a mess. But I gave $250,000 to Jim Piccolo and his partner, basically Nouveau Riche, NRU, the company NRU, to Jim and Bob, the founders of NRU. So I gave $250,000 to them to buy a territory, to buy the rights to override a territory, and then the company went out of business. Well, of that $250,000, like half of it was my friend David. So what happens is David sees that I partnered up with Jim, and David had lost money in a real estate deal with Jim. And again, I'm not saying it's Jim's fault. This is in no way is this some like coming out video about Jim. Jim, look, at the end of the day, I chose to partner with him. It's not like this is anything crazy. I've told this story also before. Not necessarily this part though, sir papers. But literally, David had invested in money into a real estate deal with Jim. Back in the day, these big real estate developments, they ended up not filing paperwork correctly. The Arizona State Commission shut that down, and that's where Jim gets his negative reputation from. If you online, it looked like he had basically been part of a lawsuit, and had lost a lot of his wealth over it. Now, if Jim were here, he would probably argue that, or debate that it wasn't all entirely his fault. It was, he wasn't the one actually signing paper. He was the owner of the LLC, but he gets the bad rep. And that's probably true. I don't know the whole entire story, so I'm going to go ahead and give Jim the benefit of the doubt. And I usually like to hear all sides of the story. All I know is it got him a bad rep. He had to deal with it. And David saw that bad rep was there. He's like, wait, I lost money in this real estate deal, and I lost money in that $250,000 that we gave. Even if the money technically went to a corporation like Nouveau Riche, technically he saw it as like going to Jim. So he's like, wait, we gave $250,000 to Jim, lost, it's gone. And then I gave the real estate money there, that's gone. I got nothing, I'm destitute, the money's still not paid back. So what does he do? He says, Chris, you partnered with him? Okay, I'm gonna serve you papers. So he serves me papers, and that $100,000 debt, that debt a law firm, basically, instead of $100,000, a law firm had spiked it up into multiple hundreds of thousands. I forget what it was, like $400,000 now. Okay? Now it's like 400 because then you're going to add in like interest over the decade, lawyer fees. And also, if you guys understand how like suing works and stuff like that, what happens is you go for a high number. I'm sure they just threw out the highest number possible, knowing we're going to negotiate it down. So I end up going to court, and there's a few different ways to do it. One is just a flat negotiation, but at the time, this was a personal debt. The debt was not against Techademics, anything like that. It was a personal debt. So because it was a personal debt, I basically was like, okay, let's negotiate and pay it. Well, at the time, all my money went to Techademics. I was not drawing a salary. I was not getting any money. Occasionally, I would draw a $5,000 a month salary, so there really wasn't any money. So once I produced all of that, the debt collection firm was like, wow, Chris really doesn't have any money. He's literally put all of his money into the company. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can come after the company. Now, you can't just like breach a company. You can't just take a personal debt and go after a company. So we ended up going to court a bunch over this behind the scenes while Techademics is going. During that time, because of this going on and because of a few other things going on in Techademics, Jim and I kind of separated our vision. My vision was really to do more of the affiliate side. His vision was to more run it like a school. At first, they worked together nice, but eventually it kind of like wasn't working out between us. So the idea was to sell the assets of the company, since the company was doing well, sell the assets for millions. And the idea was sell the assets for millions, then I could pay off this debt, have money, the company could still run, everything's great, everybody wins, and I could have this story of having sold a company for millions. So in August 2017, it was announced on stage that we had sold the assets or we were in the process of selling the assets or whatever it was. There was a speech on stage, and the end result made it look like I had made millions of dollars. Okay, so Jim had got up on stage and said, hey, Chris will never have to work another day of his life. But I want to explain, that was all done in good intention. It was done because at that point, it looked like that was going to happen. And at that point, Jim was trying to give me a good story. Since I was no longer going to be with Techademics, give me a good story. But this never ended up happening. Okay? No millions, no money, no anything. Instead, what ends up happening is the board at Techademics, the Techademics board, starts making decisions outside of me, and I no longer have any control, no control in Techademics, no more decisions, and I have to talk to a lawyer now. Because it was supposedly, and I don't know, I didn't get into it. It was supposedly tied up in a transactional situation or whatever. And so I had to talk to a lawyer. It was very, very difficult, all communication. Meanwhile, I'm watching Techademics, this company that I loved, that was like my biggest dream. I'm watching it get this historic rise and then this historic drop, right? That's tough for me to watch. The money tank, the business tank, the affiliates tank. It's tough for me to watch. People started not getting paid. And I have no control, right? No control ever since really back to about the summer of 2017. But the problem is nobody really knows, right? Nobody knows because I'm just keeping quiet. And my condition on this, I said I would be willing to sell the assets if, we didn't have to fire any employees, if we can still we were going to cancel this August event. Nobody knew it. So as long as this August event can go on, as long as we, can pay our employees, as long as we can pay our affiliates, as long as everybody gets paid, I don't mind. And then I'll get paid out of what's left, right? So I just didn't mind. For me, it was like, it wasn't so much about how much money can I make, because obviously I wasn't even taking a salary. I was in this thing for the long term, right? It was more about, I wanted to make sure everybody around me was taken care of, everybody was paid, and that was going to happen. Well, as the company's tanking, it becomes less and less valuable. I don't know what ended up happening. I don't know if they were able to reach an agreement, but enough time went by that I wasn't making any money or anything. So during that time, what I do for about 6 months during this exit of Techademics, the so-called exit that I'm waiting for, that never ends up happening. But during those 6 months, I do free value every day on vlogs, and I start rapping. I start doing raps. I start doing fun stuff to start, because I had just been working 100 hours a week for, whatever, like 2 years. So I still had that work ethic. I still wanted to dial it down. So I started doing 6 months of vlogging, raps, free value, basically waiting for this to manifest itself. That ends up not manifesting itself. End result is I get no money whatsoever, no assets, okay? So the reason I'm breaking this down is literally the craziest thing in my entire life happens. And I need to break this down to a certain extent. And look, at the end of the day, people go, well, are you mad? Are you guys battling? No, I'm not. Things happen. I didn't fight anybody. I'm not saying that there was any sort of like hostile takeover on me. I'm not even stating anything like that. What happened, happened. However it unfolded, right? All I know is at the end is I'm not a fighter. I'm more of a lover, not a fighter. I was left with no money, no control of the company, no decision making, and had to talk to a lawyer through all of it. And I had a choice. Do I want to spend the next year kind of fighting this out or doing whatever, or do I want to move forward? So enter 2018. Okay? 2018, January. I move to Las Vegas. Okay? Now check this out. This is part of the story, part of the journey people need to know. Start over from scratch. Okay? So watch this. 2018, watch this. Literally, no bank account, no money, no car, no house, no credit, and no assets. Because I put everything on the line. So, people don't realize this entrepreneurial journey, right? I moved to Las Vegas and I start over from scratch completely. Literally. No bank account, no money, no car, no houses, no credit, no assets. I'm literally sleeping, couch surfing. It's called couch surfing. Obviously, it's not always couches. Sometimes it's beds. Couch surfing. Okay? Peter's house, my friend Peter's house. So I'm literally couch surfing at a friend's house. And to be honest, because I said I'm going to be very authentic about this, I was depressed. I was literally depressed. That company was my dream. It was like my child, my baby. It was very difficult for me to walk away or exit. The only reason I even did that was because it was presented to me that the company was going to be insolvent and wasn't going to be able to pay its bills unless there was some type of an asset sale or something. So I literally turned over the company in an effort to save it. And this is what people don't realize is people's like, wait, you walked away with nothing? That was the only option that at that time that had made any sense. And it was like something needed to be done immediately. This was like a week before the event. Everything was going to cancel. It was the only thing that made sense at the time. Now, in hindsight, more ideas came up. But at the time, I thought the only way to be able to make sure no employees were fired, to be able to make sure we could still hold the event, to make sure commissions went out to affiliates, to make sure products got fulfilled, to make sure everybody was happy, was to give up my portion into an asset sale, and that would cover all that. And then what was left, if there was money left, would pay me. And at the time, that could have been millions. It could have been. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, even if it was nothing, but everybody was happy, that's what I thought was the worst case situation. Instead, it ends up being even worse than that, which was the company didn't really even have enough money to continue even after that because the asset sales took forever and other things. So it was just a very difficult situation. And being that I was out of the picture, but not like publicly out, people thought, well, Chris, can't you do anything about it? But no, I didn't have any control whatsoever. There was not even communication. So I didn't have anything. So I'm literally sleeping on the couch at Peter's. I'm depressed again. Now, this depression was worse than the depression of 2013 with my son going through autism, stuff like that. It was worse because I didn't know what to do. I just lost something. I didn't know what to do. And I went to Peter and said, I'm not in a position right now to start up a new company. I just don't have it in me right now. I'm beat up. I've just been doing these vlogs every single day, trying to show the regrowth, but we're waiting for some money to come. Money never came. We got to start from scratch. I'm like, I just kind of got into a funk. And then I got really sick for 2 weeks. So I was sick. like really sick. You know, when you're depressed and sick at the same time, it's bad. I was just going through it. I was thick as it gets. And what happened was like, Peter's like, well, hey, why don't we just partner up? And Peter essentially started a new company. And that's another thing. A lot of people look at this kind of stuff and go, oh, is this all your new company, Chris? No, I'm the face of it, but it's Peter's company. That's what people don't realize is that I wasn't even in a place to start a new company. Peter's got a new company, new co. It's Peter's company, Peter's LLC, Peter's funding. Peter funded everything on credit cards, stuff like that. So what happened is, and a very interesting thing happened. A friend comes through. When I'm down and out right here, a friend comes through and says, hey, you can stay in my house. I'll leverage my credit score. It's not the best, but I'll leverage credit cards. I'll do whatever. Peter gets the merchant accounts. He gets everything in his own name right here, right? And a couple other friends came through. Anthony Morrison, for example, opened up connections to be able to get us merchant accounts. Some of our friends came through to give us, some of our friends that knew the situation gave us a boost up, gave us a leg up, and got this new company started. A lot of people just think it's my company, but really it's Peter's company, right? And this new company, basically Peter's like, hey, just help me launch it and then you could do whatever. So we basically came up with something kind of cool, and we wanted to do something this time around. Instead of just making money, we wanted to do something that really focused on time and money. Okay, time and money and lifestyle. Because here's the thing. In the previous company, I was working like for money. We were working like 100 hours a week. I had no time. And honestly, I didn't really have any money either because all the money was going to the company. But at least the company's making money. But I had no time, no money. I lived a decent lifestyle because, I was able to be able to put up things. But like, even when I say like no car, that's because all the cars that I was driving were just affiliate contest cars, right? So basically, they were in Jim's name, not my name, because I had no credit. They were in Jim's name, and I was driving them. Now, that was public. It's not like I was saying, hey, I'm going to keep this car. I was like, hey, every single time I did social media, who wants to win this car? So I had perks, right? So Jim would lease a house under his name, his credit, so I could stay there. Jim would get a car, and then we'd end up giving it away. So I had company perks. It wasn't like, when I say I didn't receive a salary, it wasn't like I didn't receive any perks. Okay, there was good perks. Just there was no bank account. I had no bank account, no money. And the reason I didn't have a bank account was because the lawsuit thing that I was going through. So I literally had no money, no bank account, no anything. And so when I got cut off completely from Techademics, understand, I didn't even have a bank account. I had to go here down the street with Peter and go open up a Chase account for the first time. Like, I had to go open up a new bank account and everything. So literally no money. And we wanted to do something that was time, money, lifestyle. Now, going back to my old video guy. My old video guy's name is Kyle. Remember, he filmed our reality show, and then he ended up making a video for us all about, for Empower Network. Well, I hadn't seen him in years. Onto a new film crew. All my rap videos and vlogs were done with my friend Sam Servideo, most amazing videographer that I'd worked with. Sam's back in Arizona, and now we have another amazing video. We've been fortunate to have great video people between Kyle, between Sam, and between Steele. Just great talent. Well, I called up this guy Kyle, and I said, Kyle, back in the day, you used to have a brand called Lifepreneur. It used to be your brand. Are you doing anything with using it? He's like, no, you guys can use it if you want. So, from a friend hookup, we started this company called Lifepreneur. Okay? The idea was 2 words, right? Life and preneur, right? And the idea was, if you want to have lifestyle, it's 2 words, life and style. To have life, you need time. To have style, you need money. And I looked at this and I was like, wait, time, money, lifestyle. This is exactly what I want to do. So we ran with this name Lifepreneur. We did an initial launch and we opened it up at a discount. We did an initial launch and about like 500 people joined us. Okay? Joined what we called All In. So we do this initial launch. 500 people joined us, and then we kind of closed it down. It's been loosely open. Some affiliates have links. Some affiliates have been promoting it loosely. But we've been building it behind the scenes. And so our 2018 rollout, the new company and how we got where it was, is a company called Lifepreneur. Okay? And this basically, what this does is what we basically did was we took 4 categories. We took the category of wanting to teach people influence, agency. We wanted to give people masterminds and teach them how to invest. Okay? There's 4 very clear categories. Okay? And this was the idea. Well, we wanted to take people on a journey. We wanted to teach them right here how to be able to build the following. So people could build their following online, build a greater thing right here. And then right here, grow their income with an agency. And then we wanted them over here to be able to scale their business, not scale their business. And we wanted people here to invest. We wanted them to multiply their wealth. Now, the concept behind this was if we could teach people how to be able to build, grow, scale, and multiply, then they can take that money over here and we can focus on helping causes, great causes. You know, causes such as like autism awareness, cancer causes, all these different things, diabetes, homelessness, all these different things, right? So the concept was, let's do something meaningful, right? Help people to be able to build a bigger following, help them to be able to grow their income, help them to be able to scale their business, and help them to be able to multiply their wealth. And we do that through the process of teaching them how to be influencers, teaching them how to grow their agency, hold masterminds to teach them how to be able to scale, and then teach them how to be able to invest and be able to do something with their money and make it work for them. And this really took off. We had a big pre-launch in February, and then we kind of closed it down. During March, April, and May, we focused on the masterminds almost exclusively, and then we also focused on an angle of agency called consulting, where we actually partnered up with consulting.com, the premier consulting company out there, teaching people ways to be able to grow their income, okay? Now, in the summer, and it's probably going to be like late summer 2018, summer to fall 2018 is going to be the official launch. Okay? It's going to be the official launch. Now, what we're going to do is, instead of just launching under one brand, we're going to launch each one of these individually. Right now, people that are joining Lifepreneur are getting 1, 2, 3, 4. Our current offer is they get all 4 of these, right? For one discounted price. But once we launch, these are just all going to be their own products. These are all going to be their own offers. Okay? So it's a powerful idea what we've done here. And we create an affiliate opportunity where literally we're paying 50% commissions right now to affiliates. It's lucrative. It works. People are telling us that just the masterminds alone are worth the entire price. If this was the only product that we rolled out, these masterminds, these are worth it. You probably have seen these masterminds, what we're doing, but they get everything. So this is what's so powerful. And we've come a long ways, but what I want to do now is I want to kind of share with you some of the details behind some of this. I've already shared with you a lot, but I want to get with you. I want to get real with you. I want to get very, very real actually, and share with you some of the stuff that I haven't really shared much. So the biggest thing I want to share with you is to get where we are today, which is more mission driven, more cause driven. This is the first time that we don't just sit around and we go, how can we make more money? Okay? My whole life as an entrepreneur, it's always been chasing the money because you need money to pay off bills. You need money to reestablish credit. You need money to launch a company. You need money to advertise. You need money, 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 money. Money drives everything. This is the first time that we actually got around and became cause driven. How can we start with the end in mind? How can we on a big scale raise millions of dollars for charities and organizations? How can we pay it forward? If we can create a community and help that community make money and create passive income, then we could really help them make more influence out there. So it's like the deal is we help you create wealth. In return, you support the charities that we want to promote. Of course, that's optional, but we're hoping that you just want to. Right? We hope that you feel like gratitude over us helping you. So Lifepreneur is the first time that it's more mission driven. That's something that can last for years and years and years as a result. So that being said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to recap and I'm going to fill in some of the gaps here. Okay? We've been going for a while, but I want to kind of like break this down even more. Okay? So this word here, failure versus success. Okay? I want you to personally see through this journey how I have gone through a series of failures in the journey, but I've learned how to train my mind for success. And this is the biggest principle, because here's the thing, is that the world is afraid of this. So they don't take risks. They don't take gambles. They're afraid to go out there. You're afraid of failing, right? But if you can learn to work smart, if you can learn to invest smart, if you can learn to do smart things, you can learn a lot from my failure. Here's the thing. I had to go through this. I can't erase the past. I had to go through this. But it made me stronger, and it put me in a position where now little obstacles, these obstacles that used to be big, they now seem little to me. Even little obstacles don't even seem like obstacles anymore. Lack of money, lack of time, lack of resources, anything just doesn't seem like a problem anymore. And I believe that most of you have what it takes to be successful if you can get out of this box of thinking that there's failures along the way. So let's look at it. Let's examine some of these failures, okay? 1994, dropped out in the 9th grade. One of the biggest failures of my life was school. I failed school miserably. But that failure in school made it so that I didn't go the route of traditional jobs. That failure of school made me realize that in order for me to make money, I've got to seek opportunity. So it actually created me to be opportunistic. Also, when most people get out of school, they stop learning. But because I dropped out of school, as soon as I was 18, when everybody else was getting out, I began my journey of learning. All of that multi-level marketing experience, that was like my college. I was reading books every single day. I was listening to books on tape. When I was driving around, anything. I was filling my mind with knowledge when everybody else was filling their mind with music and partying and hanging out, and they were just working and then going home and home to work and home to work and home to work. And I was sitting there every single day growing and leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. So one of the things I'm most thankful for was this. Now, if I could go back, would I drop out again? Probably not. The risk was too high here. Getting locked up for 2 years and the risk of almost getting locked up, once you get institutionalized, it's hard to get out. That's too much of a risk. I don't wish that on anybody. But I will tell you, the actual lesson to be learned here from my school experience is, don't stop learning when you get out of school. That's the biggest thing. Never stop learning. Never stop leveling up. Just don't stop learning, especially when it comes to things they don't teach you in school, like finances and money management and how to be able to, get out of debt and all this kind of stuff. Don't stop learning. Okay, so the next thing here was my transition from a job to sales. I worked my base job at the restaurant while doing commission-based sales. This was important. A lot of people will just jump ship out of their job. I don't think so. I think work a job while you're doing something. So even though this failed, I failed at selling cars. I failed. I never made it. I never made it to my dream of becoming a nighttime waiter. It's okay. Here's the thing. Don't look at what you're currently doing now as the thing that you're going to do your entire life. Look at everything you're doing as a stair-stepping ladder, okay? It's like a stair step or a ladder. So maybe right here, this step was the restaurant goal. Now here's the thing. I couldn't see past it. Okay? When I was working at the restaurant, that's as big as I could see. I didn't see that there was more stairs. It was as big as I could see. And all I knew is that one day I would be a weeknight waiter, or weekend waiter. Friday and Saturday night, the best shifts. I would be the one getting those shifts one day, 5 years down the line. That was it. And I'd be making $300 a night. Okay? That was my biggest vision at the time. Okay? I went there just recently. 20 years later, I went there, and a couple of the same waiters that were waiters then are working there now. A couple of the same people. So for a lot of people, that's it. But just right now, you might be in a company, you might be involved in a project. I encourage you to realize there's going to be more opportunities. There's going to be more steps on your staircase. Okay, Big Planet, Nu Skin. Even though this is a multi-level marketing company that I never made any money in, the product in here was introduced in my life, and I ended up, it shifted the entire direction and got me into all this whole entire technology thing. Car sales got me into sales, commission-based sales. Big Planet got me into technology. I merged the two together, and I got my own website design service. So listen, even though this was a failure, I failed at this, I failed at these, and I failed at this. Even though these are all failures, I took something from it and learned. This is what you have to do with your failures. You have to go back to your failed relationship. You have to go back to your failed marriage. You have to go back to your failed business. You have to go back to the time you haven't gotten debt. You have to go back to all your failures, and you have to get real with yourself and go, rather than focus on being the victim of this failure, how can I learn from it, take what I need to take, and move forward? Keep going up these stairs, right? So instead of failures, you do not want to have a victim mentality. You want to have a victor mentality. You want to be victorious, not a victim. So I didn't look at this as a massive failure, even though it was. I didn't make any money, and I didn't recruit anybody, and it dropped. But because it introduced me to multi-level marketing, I found this other company called Quickstart Amway. Now, did I get rich there? No. In fact, I spent about 4 to 5 years there. Okay, 4 years plus through Quickstart Amway. I didn't really make much money. Whatever money I made, I put it back in the company. So I really didn't profit from that company. But that was my college. 4 years here, that was my college. And you might say, really, Amway's a college? No. But what they encourage you to do in multi-level marketing companies is they encourage you to learn in personal development. So during this time, I got introduced to people like Anthony Robbins. I listened to all of his stuff. I started reading books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki. I started reading books on sales, persuasion, personality types, life lessons, all kinds of stuff, leadership. I started doing all of this kind of stuff. During this time, I started going to church. I started getting around positive people. I would go to these conferences, and it would be thousands of like-minded, positive people that were all fired up, totally unlike my kids, or the kids I hung out with. Totally unlike my old friends, right? So this was like my college experience. Even though I didn't make money, I look at this as the greatest 4 years spent mastering the inner game. Why? Because I was broken. I was a kid who had broken bad, lost all hope. I couldn't even do an odd job without trying to steal from the register. Okay, that's who I was. You guys look at me now and you don't see this, but that's who I was. I was that kid who would get fired from every single job and try to scheme my way around there. You know, when I would go clean up the aisles of the movie theater, I was hoping somebody would have left their wallet or cash so I could take it. I was not a good Samaritan back then when I was 18 years old. I just wasn't. But I was on my way. I just needed a little bit more time to break good. I had broken bad. I needed to break good. And it was a journey for me, right? So all this was failure. But each thing it advanced me. That's the thing. I just kept advancing. I kept moving forward. Instead of focusing on, it didn't work out, that's it for me, I just kept moving forward. This dynamic web page builder, sure, I made some sales of it, but only about, 20 clients or whatever it was at $300, like $6,000 a year. That's like $500 a month. That's not even livable in a California town. So that was a failure, right? And then I started doing web design, but I never made enough money to be able to survive. Then I started working at Santa Cruz Web Design, $5,000 a month, but I ended up getting fired or quitting. It just didn't work. I couldn't even go to work on time. I had a dream job, $5,000 a month, plus I got to work with some of the best clients in Santa Cruz marketing their websites. Still not enough. Still, I couldn't pull it off. But this led me to my own search engine optimization agency, which I finally made my first big money with. My first $100,000 from Google AdSense and $100,000 from Amazon affiliate. My first 6 figures. But Google changed the algorithm, deranked all my sites. I couldn't figure it out, and I went from 6 figures to nothing. That was a failure. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? This is crazy. Then I got what little money I had left, I put it into real estate investing, lost my money there. But you might go, well, Chris, if all this failure, why'd you stop? Why didn't you just stop? Because what you don't realize is that you're leveling up through failure. I saw failure as success. So what happened was I was leveling up. The experience I got in real estate investing made me a sharper investor for the future investments. At that time, I was just basically floating money to my friend George to kind of manage his properties. I got hands-on experience what it was like. Sure, the timing wasn't good, but I'm glad I took chances because that made me more flexible to invest when I needed it in Facebook advertising and YouTube advertising and Instagram advertising. I was much more flexible to invest. See, all of this failure made it so I wasn't afraid to fail. Failure makes you stronger, so you're not afraid to fail. And if you ever want to make big money, if you ever want to do something big with your life, you can't be afraid to fail. So you have to fail first to know what it feels like. You have to lose in order to be able to say, how bad do you really want it? Right? When you get knocked down on the ground, that's not defeat. It's a test to see how bad do you really want it? Are you willing to get back up again even though you just got knocked down? So that was a failure. I joined the Amway of real estate, World Leadership Group. Boom, failure. Even though I was doing everything right, I couldn't make money with it, right? Broke, 45 credit score, negative bank account, evicted, car crash. That's the definition of failing. But then I found this Nouveau Riche company, went on and made $500,000 success, right? Fixed my mindset, success. But there was one big problem. Even when I got all my stuff together, finally after all this, I get all my stuff together. And what happens? The entire US economy crashes. Everybody loses. Sorry, you don't get to pass go. And that's what happened. Everybody lost. So when I finally get my stuff together, make a significant investment of $250,000 where I'm borrowing money, moving to the East Coast, putting everything on the line, then the whole economy fails, even though I got everything going good for me. Failure. $250,000, all the rest of my money, gone. All gone. Now I have debt, I have taxes, failing, right? So look at that. A big picture of failure. That is what success looks like. People think success is overnight. They think success is overnight. Take somebody like right now, the playoffs, Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers, right? Every single year these guys have been towing up. You got LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But did you know LeBron James, like literally, here's a snapshot of LeBron James' failure to be what's considered one of the best basketball players in the history of the game. Definitely current player, best player in the game active right now. So you got LeBron James. Look at LeBron James' life. When he was, his mom was 16 years old when she gave birth to him. He doesn't know his father, right? Doesn't know his dad. His mom's 16 years old. Now, when when LeBron's a child, like 2, 3, 4 years old, his grandma and aunt and stuff like that die. They're not able to keep taking care of him. So the mom has to move out. One of like the neighbors takes them in. Okay, in the house. They sleep on the couch. LeBron and his mom are sleeping on a couch at the neighbor's house. Okay, then they start moving around. They live in the projects. And some coach, some failed football player says, I want to do something to redeem myself in my life. I want to be a coach. This failed football player goes to the projects and says, hey, are there any kids age 9 and 10 that want to play football for my rec league? And he had all these kids line up. LeBron James happened to be one of them, has them all line up on the yard line right there and on the parking lot and sprint, which was like 50 or 100 meter dash, right? And LeBron James wins by like 15 yards above everybody, even though he's a small kid at the time, okay? Hadn't hit his growth spurt yet. So the coach says, hey, you want to come play football to me? How old are you? You're 9. The coach says, this guy's got talent. His first handoff in his first game, he runs for a 70-yard touchdown. Okay, this kid's got natural talent. He's fast. He's sharp. So he says, I want to develop this kid's skills. So what does he do? He puts him in the rec league on a team with nine-year-olds, but he also makes him a volunteer coach for the team of 8-year-olds. So even though he's only 9, he's coaching this team of 8-year-olds because he doesn't know football. He doesn't know the rules. He doesn't know everything. So he has to learn. Now LeBron James is starting to work out, play football, get bigger. And then he ends up, his mom is moving. The coach is picking him up every single day at 3:45, every day. And LeBron was always somewhere else, right? Because the mom was struggling on welfare, couldn't figure out anywhere to live. And it's in the projects. So what happens? The coach says, hey, I'll put you guys up at my house. The coach has like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment, a little apartment, and he's got his girlfriend there, and he's got LeBron James and his mom sleeping in the other room. They're there for months, right? And then eventually the girlfriend says, we don't want him in the house anymore. It's too much noise. It's too weird having a family here. And what happens? They're out on the streets again. But the mom was going to send LeBron James to New York to live with family out there. This isn't going to work. What happens? Another coach says, you know what? The guy's got talent. We'll put him up in our house. And LeBron James lived with that coach, and his mom saw him on the weekends. Literally, because LeBron's mom couldn't put it together. And LeBron's mom lived around like The whole career evolved around weekend games, going and watching her son play on the weekends for time. This is how LeBron James got his start. A kid who couldn't figure himself out in school, couldn't figure himself out with friends, couldn't figure himself out with living in the projects, and finally showed enough talent. A coach gave him an opportunity. He lived there, he worked, and in the off season he would play basketball. And the reason basketball worked is because LeBron James had that work ethic, had everything, but wasn't tall enough. Boom, hits a growth spurt in high school, becomes one of the most dominating high school basketball players. And through the coach made sure he always did his homework before he got to play basketball. He taught LeBron how to be a good student, how to focus, how to follow through. Through enough discipline, LeBron shaped his life to becoming the best basketball player in the current game of basketball. This is the guy you get to watch in the finals. And you think about this, LeBron's life is filled with this. But that's what made him stronger to be the best person out there. Right? You got to look at the backstory. People think people are an overnight success. Take Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan got cut from the high school basketball team because he wasn't tall enough. I think he was like 5'11" or something like that. Then in the offseason, he had a growth spurt. Boom, in the mid-sixes. And then he gets back on the team and makes a career out of it and becomes what's arguably the best basketball player of all time after getting cut. So now basketball's maybe a bad example because a lot of it has to do with the growth spurt. Right? So maybe some luck. But the point is that these people had all the odds against them and they overcame them. So why not you? Why not me? Why not us? If your life looks like this, does your life filled with not having enough money? Has your life been filled with trying to do things but failing? Has your life been filled with trying to help out family members but not having enough money to do so and always hearing it like, man, like you trying to come through for them and you haven't been able to come through like you want to come through. You want to do more stuff in your life, but you can't because it looks like this. The key is just this. Reframe it. Your failure is necessary for your success because in order to operate at this level, you can't be afraid to fail. And the only way to not be afraid is to fail so many times, you become numb to failure. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. Now you can go out there and focus on something meaningful and valuable with your life without being afraid, okay? That's the key. If you look at all this is just failure after failure after failure. I moved to California, right, to do a reality show. This reality show failed, right? We started a free blog factory. We did 6 figures, and it was blowing up, but yet the guys couldn't get along. Failure. I worked for Max Sound for 3 years on a job, lost my 10%, ended up losing the whole entire thing after 80 hours a week. Lost everything, right? Children. I'm expecting 2 regular, typical kids. What happens? One of them gets autism. Now, although I'm not against him getting autism, life is life. And who's to say I'm any more normal than him, right? At the end of the day, autism is a thing and it happens. But at the end of the day, this still shook me up. You can't, although I'm okay and love him with his autism, you can't take the part away, which is like when any child goes into regression like that, it will mix you up. Okay? So this right here was devastating to me. This was devastating, right? And this basically put me on a journey that was crazy. Like when I look at joining Visalis, that didn't end up working. Empower Network, ended up leaving that. That didn't work, right? So you look at all this, keep going, okay? 2013, going through depression. Obviously that's not working when you're going through depression. Lost my job, lost everything, right? And then I went and redefined my life with the audiobook 10X rule, set some bigger goals, and started doing this. But let's talk about this. Me and Arthur Tubman, we had a good partnership. Everything was working, but we couldn't get together as partners. So here we were embarking on a career, and what happens? We end up divorcing as business partners. Divorce, right? We end up going through divorce. That doesn't work out. And then I got to follow these guys and go on my own and try to figure this out on my own. So I launched Dark Post Profits, right? Dark Post Profits, I guess you can call like a mediocre success. It was a good amount of money, but it was just a one-time thing. And then it just floated out there. I didn't know what to do with it. So it was a quick it was like a little spring of success. During your career, your roller coaster career is going to look like this, right? Dark Post Profits was a little spike, but what happened? I didn't follow through. I didn't do anything. So even though this was a spike, how did I go from being up to being completely down and running out of money? It's because instead of continuing on this path of good, I went over here and built out a multi-user blog platform for Empower Network, and they were not able to pay me. David Wood was not able to give me the money, was not able to pay me. That sucked. So that turned this into a failure, right? And I was scared. We didn't know what to do. We started a mastermind. But that mastermind wasn't great. We had people that shouldn't have been in the room that were there. They weren't pre-qualified. We were drinking the whole entire time. All the students were drinking. And one of the nights, we went to a local bar. And bars in California shut down at 2. But I guess I had tipped the guy so heavily, he had left it open to us till like 4. We drank way too much alcohol that night, ended up getting hammered. I look back and go, man, that would have been a lot more of a better week in the office if we weren't like straight up drinking at 4 a.m. the night before we had to wake up at like 8 a.m. to go catch a flight. So I literally consider that a failure, right? Divorce. Clearly marriage didn't work out. That was a failure, right? Dark Post Profits 2, $850,000 in 5 days. Success, right? But I didn't understand what the word evergreen was. What I did was after 7 days, I shut down the offer and people couldn't buy it. I shut it down. It was a $297 product. At first, I raised the price. Then I eventually shut down the offer. I opened it and closed it. I could have reopened this and made millions, but I didn't. So I lost millions by not understanding marketing. So my success turned into a failure, right? The end of 2015, divorce, starting over. That's the definition of failure when you start over. I invest all my money into a company, into a school in Arizona that I end up losing. I end up with no money, no control, no decisions. I have to talk to a lawyer, no company, no anything, and literally have to start over completely. I have to go to court, have to go through all this stuff. This is one big, colossal failure. Probably the biggest failure because this was something that was my brainchild. This was my baby, right? It almost brings like tears to my eyes thinking of it right now. My eyes are actually watering. And it's because this, I loved it. I actually loved it. Like I found something I was passionate to do and lost it. Okay, that's tough. That is really tough. Like falling in love with somebody and then losing that person. Maybe you get into fights and lose them, or maybe they die or something happens or whatever. You part ways, but you still think about them later. That hurts, right? This hurt me, okay? I'm not saying anybody else was wrong. I probably was wrong. I'm a grown adult. I moved on. Okay? But it still hurt. It hurt. I physically had pain. I physically experienced pain in my chest over it. The same kind of pain I experienced from going through a divorce. It was hard. Okay? And this isn't even over. There's still stuff that we're dealing with out of it. So this whole thing was crazy. You want to talk about the definition of failure? Starting over from scratch. Starting over from scratch as a 39-year-old man. Starting over. That's huge. But check out how crazy my start over was. No bank account. So I had shut down my bank account a couple years earlier. I'd shut it down, or the year before. I had no bank accounts, was not receiving salary, was not doing anything. I let it all ride on Techademics. So when I let it all ride there, people go, don't you regret that? No, I don't regret that. So look, if you're going to go for something, go for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you're going to do something, do it. You can't dip your toes in the water. Like you got to dive in. And then, yeah, you might get out and say that was a mistake. But you know what? It's like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I could always just not take shots. Then I'm guaranteed to fail. So if you don't take a shot, you're guaranteed to fail. If you take the shot, at least you got a chance. You're at least giving yourself a chance. I'd rather be in the game than in the stands watching it. Okay? So I had to start over from scratch. No bank account, no money, no car, no house, no credit, no anything. Right? So you might say, well, how do we have all this? Peter came through and said, hey, Chris, we've been doing this ride or die for a decade. My other buddy, Ryan Gillette, came through, said, I got your back. Let's start over from scratch. Let's do it together in Vegas. And that's why we're here. Okay? So couch surfing, depressed, sick, that is the definition of failure. Okay? So why do I bring up failure? Because in order to find your purpose, I'm turning 40 in July, and just in a couple months, I'm going to be 40 years old. And it's a major turning milestone for me. I want to do things that are more meaningful. Because here's the thing. A lot of people go, Chris, that's a lot of failure. But it's not, is it? I'm able to see all that as success. I just showed you it was all failure. But the way my mind works is that it has been an illustrious career filled with success. My career has been a victory. I beat the odds. I overcame the system. When I was a young kid, the system tried to chew me up and spit me out. And I beat the system. I beat the odds. I was supposed to be locked up. You know how many of my friends died growing up? Overdosing on heroin? Friends shot? Right? between drug overdoses and literally being shot, that's like half of our core friends. The rest locked up. And then there's a few of our core friends that are still floating around, but most of them are in the same exact position that they were in 15, 20 years ago. And they're just check to check, grinding at a job, tired at the end of the day, coming home, wanting to just sleep, throw on the Giants game, watch TV a little bit and crash, or going and getting drunk at the bar every single night. It's not, look, that's their life. It's not like I'm against it. I'm just saying that out of our whole entire circle, there's only a couple people that felt like elevating out of it. My circle was a tough one. Not having friends here today, having friends locked up, dead. See, they're either dead, they're dead broke, or they're like in jail, or literally they're just like dead minded. Like they're not there. And I'm not if somebody's a friend watching this, it's not like it's a direct insult, but you know what I'm saying. You know the friends we used to hang out with back in Santa Cruz, California, and the Bay Area. I lived in Oakland, California, San Francisco, San Jose, Walnut Creek, Sacramento, Santa Cruz, all over. And if someone like me can beat the odds and succeed, then so can you. So what we want to do with Lifepreneur is we want to say, you know what? Let's take a look at the past 20 years of my career. What would we do differently? There are a lot of things that people love. For example, one of the things that I love to do is I love to teach. Like right now, I'm not getting paid to do this, but I love doing it. I love to teach. I feel my calling is to be able to share wisdom. I love teaching stories, tactics, strategies, you name it. So if I can learn how to make money, I will gladly teach you, right? That's what I love to do. But on top of teaching, another thing that I love to do is I love to get hands-on with people and work. That's why I love having masterminds, right? I want to teach you how to grow your influence, build an agency, but I also want to teach you in person how to be able to network and be able, that's where you're really going to make your big connections. All those people I used to look up to, Alex Becker, Onyx Singal, Anthony Morrison, I'm friends with all of them now. Right? That's how it works. At first, you just kind of idolize them as very successful people. Then you eventually get into business, figure out a way to be able to work with them as you have success. It's pretty cool. And then investing. At the end of the day, one of my biggest, I don't know if you want to call it a regret. Let's say one of the lessons that I did not learn because I had a thick head up here was I did not learn how to be able to create income producing assets that were separate from each other. What I would do is I would create something very successful, take all the money and put it into something else, take all the money and put it into something else. So my money was always riding on, black, whatever, in a casino, right? I was always going all in. My whole career is like Texas Hold'em, all in. I build up, go all in. Build it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But what I would do differently from the life lessons is you have something that's creating income. What you're looking to do is you're looking to create another income source that's separate from that this income source over here is not contingent on the success or failure of this one. So when one thing succeeds or fails, it doesn't start you over from scratch, right? What I would do differently is I would have multiple resources, multiple streams of income. So you want to be able, and your side income can often make more money than your main income. So I was making $12,000 a month at my job with Max Sound, working 80 hours a week, but I was making $30,000 a month with Empower Network, working 1 hour a week, right? So I was making more money, but I didn't quit the job. I looked at it as I want the two income sources. Now, what I should have done with that $30,000 per month is I should have built another income source that only required an hour a week, and another one. Eventually I could have had multiples, and that doesn't mean just go take all your money and go buy houses, or that doesn't mean, just go buy real estate or go buy stocks or go buy cryptocurrency. That's not what it means. What it means is what I would encourage you to do is actually just start create wealth. Make sure you get time freedom, and then take your time and money, donate to causes so you can make sure you're balanced and it's not just money driven, and then start to invest into opportunities for things that could take off. Be your own angel investor. Find ways to be able to make that money grow, because what you're going to do is you're going to realize your money can work harder for you than you can ever work for your money. Your money can make you more money than you can. And this is what people don't realize. You might be working right now all day, all night, maybe 2 jobs, maybe a job and a business, but your money will outwork you. Your money will always go and make more money than you can, but you've got to go get your money working. Treat all your dollars as little soldiers, go get them out on the battlefield working for you. Because the thing is that money, when it goes out there and works, it doesn't have the same emotion that humans have. We humans get in the way of our own success and our own livelihood. What we do is we get in a place where we have time and money, but then we'll go and insert ourselves into a project and overwork ourselves. We'll end up doing crazy stuff like that. Or we'll make emotional decisions that aren't logical. Like we'll buy things because we want them, not because it's the right decision. And then we go, okay, well, I want to live a life that we want. Okay, great. So then what we'll do is we live the life we want, and then we end up in a situation where maybe we run out or something changes that we didn't expect, and then we have to start over from scratch again. And we're like, man, having made like $1 million, I made like $500,000 with Empower Network. I made like $1 million with New Varish. I made like millions of dollars with these product launches, but yet that money's gone. And the reason the money's gone is partially because I took big risks. That's okay. I don't mind having taken the big risks, but what I would do differently is instead of putting all in on just one opportunity, which, you know what, I don't know, it's got me where I am, so I'm not saying it's bad advice. I'm just saying what I would do differently is go all in on 10 things. Instead of one thing, go all in, or go all in on one and have 10 other streams of income. So that's what we're gonna do with Lifepreneur, is we're gonna teach you how to put yourself in a position where any one thing is not dependent on another, right? Because when you build an influence, this makes it so that if you have to start over, the one thing is you can start over with influence. Because think about it. Even though I lost everything, even though, right here, even though no bank account, no money, no car, no house, no credit, no assets, how were we able to instantly get back into the game of right on track, generating multiple six figures without skipping a beat? How? Because the one thing I didn't lose was my influence. By having a base foundation of influence, you can always pick yourself up and start over. You can always do it again. If you build a big email list, even if your opportunity that you're in, maybe you're in a multi-level marketing company, maybe, they get investigated by, the FTC or something like that. Even though they might be innocent, that investigation might slow their momentum. A bunch of leaders might leave, the company crumbles, your income source crumbles. Let's say that was you. Well, if you have influence, and you have figured out how to position yourself, if you have other streams of income coming in, you can lose a stream of income. You still suffer from the loss, but you're not devastated. You're able to go and pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. To be able to diversify yourself, to be able to have entities set up. That's why we partnered with NCH here locally, Nevada Corporate Headquarters. Because to have multiple entities set up, it puts you in a position where everything's separated outside of your personal name. You might even at one point have to file bankruptcy, but it doesn't need to affect a company. Put yourself in a position where you're solid, you're structured. Look, take it from me, somebody who's been through the ringer multiple times. Each time made me stronger. You're gonna need to go through your failure yourself. But wisdom comes from two places, mistakes and mentors. So you're gonna make your own mistakes. The cool thing about having a mentor like me is you can learn from my mistakes, okay? And if you look like right now, I want you to learn from my mistakes because literally, look at all these mistakes here. Look at all those mistakes there. Look at all this. All of these mistakes. These are all mistakes, right? Look at these mistakes right here. Look at this. Look at this page. Mistakes and mentors. These were necessary to take this kid who got locked up at 16 years old, high school dropout, no skills, no education, nothing, was able to take me and steer me and mold me into the person that can now lead you. This had to happen to me, but that doesn't mean that this has to happen to you. If you don't want your board to look like this before seeing this, then you need this. You need a mentor, somebody to coach you through, somebody to walk you through it. And that's what we're doing at Lifepreneur. We've got a great team. The team here, we've been together for a decade through the ups and through the downs. And we're here to be able to serve you. So what we're going to do is we're literally going to, starting this week, we are going to open back up one last time. We're going to open back up Lifepreneur. You're going to see that this week. You're going to see a reopen of Lifepreneur to the public. You're going to have one chance to be able to join us on this vision if you want to. And then we're going to close it down and we're going to do our big summer fall launch of all of these different categories of products, education. Obviously, the company's invested in resources for you. We've been practicing, we've been going live, we've been doing this. Get ready for one of the most amazing experiences you're ever gonna go on. And I'm not gonna go into a lot of details about this because I'm about to release a presentation on this, but Lifepreneur is gonna be, we believe that we are gonna redefine the word entrepreneur. When people say entrepreneur, in the future, people are gonna say lifepreneur. Literally, when you're in an Uber and the Uber driver says, so what do you do for a living? you're going to be able to say, I'm a lifepreneur. Like it's the most powerful, impactful statement because it's more than somebody who just hustles and grinds and chases money. It's not like, it's a combination of everything. Lifepreneur, think about some of the biggest influencers. I'm a guy, so I follow a lot of male influencers in the industry, right? Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Hustle, grind, hard work. That's the motto. Put your head down, don't lift it up for 6 years. That's Gary Vaynerchuk. Hustle, grind, hard work. He is the preneur of entrepreneur. He's a doer, right? Hey, let's take another one. Tai Lopez. This guy's not about hard work at all. He's about lifestyle. Just live the good life. Just enjoy lifestyle. Enjoy it. He's the life part of lifepreneur. Just these words right here, you got the Tai Lopez's and you got the Gary Vaynerchuks. Well, what about taking things to the next level? You got the Grant Cardones. 10x. Be more powerful. Make it your biggest year yet. Do something bigger than you've ever done before. Don't be afraid to fail. I've got that embodied. So we're going to make sure you got a little bit of that Grant Cardone in there. So you got the Tai Lopez, you got the Gary Vaynerchuk, you got the Grant Cardone. What about the heart? All the causes and the things we support. That's somebody like a Lewis Howes, right? You got Lewis Howes in here. Somebody who's all about that heart, right? Just leading with just the emotion of the raw emotion of like, let's do something good in this world. So now you got a little bit of Tai, you got a little bit of Gary, you got a little bit of Grant, you got a little bit of Lewis. What about my friend Billie Jean from Billie Jean is Marketing, right? You got that creativity. You got that the fun factor, right? You got that viral video factor. You got the excitement thing, right? That's what I like doing too. So you got a little bit of Billie Jean in there. You got all this. You put all these influencers that I follow and I look and I admire to, you mix them up in a pot, and that's Chris Record. Chris takes a little piece of every single one of them, and then I add my own flavor on top with creativity, with ideas, with a passion to help you. A true passion that even if I wasn't getting paid, this is what I love to do. Okay? So at the end of the day, lifepreneur is this harmonious group together of all of this different value. You get the value of lifestyle. You get the value of hard work and hustle, entrepreneur, bigger thinking, leading from the heart, going creativity, marketing ideas, different stuff. That's all you. You are a lifepreneur. You embody all of that. And we're going to take you on this journey. We're going to start with 4 product lines. Then we're going to move you into causes that you can support. And then in the future, I'm not going to dive into it today, but we have big plans for Lifepreneur as a parent company and some amazing things we want to take this. A vision that you will absolutely love. So I can't wait to share that with you. And with that being said, the official launch is coming summer to fall. But if you follow me on social media, you will hear over the next few days one final chance to be able to get in the pre-launch of Lifepreneur where you don't have to buy all of these when they come out, right? Our pre-launch all-in offer gets you access to all of this when it comes out. Literally, I don't know what the whole price of all this is going to be, but it's like so massively discounted. That's why I'm not even saying it right now, because later on, people are going to buy these individually. They're going to say, can I get that bundle deal? The deal that you're going to get, everybody in the future is going to beg for that one because they're going to say, oh, I saw some video floating around, but we just can't do it. That's not how the company's going to be set. If you want to be one of the people that think smart, you work smart instead of working hard, you could be part of Lifepreneur at a significant discount. We're rolling that out in the next couple of days, maybe leave it open for a week or so. Then we're going to close it down so that we can repackage the whole entire thing under a new membership site, under a new affiliate program, close everything. We're going to give all of our affiliates one last chance to be able to do it. But with that being said, it is time for me. The laptop died right on time there. It is time for me to call it a day. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you so much for having me go through a huge list of failure. And I hope you see, failure is only failure if you allow it to be. Failure is a learning lesson. Do not be the victim. I challenge you, like I said in the beginning, do your own timeline. Write down a list of all the failures, all the times you lost money, all the times that a company failed, all the times you tried something that didn't work. Write down your timeline, your journey, even the successes that were short and limited. Write them all down. What did you learn from each one? How has each one of those experiences molded you to who you are? And then at the end, why are you thankful for these failures? Why are you so thankful that you've had these lessons to be able to make you who you are? Because who you are now is exactly who you need to be to go to the next level. So that being said, I'm out. Call it end of the day. I'll talk to you guys in a few days when we launch Lifepreneur again.